The final battle, Lin Jinchen, the best mage cultivator against the legendary mutant beast. And Lin Jinchen loses. Is the best cultivator mage destined to die at the hands of a legendary mutant beast? Lin Jinchen tried his best to push these thoughts away from himself as he fell down. Gathering his strength and standing up to continue the fight, Lin Jinchen suddenly saw his close people in front of him. Beloved Jie and friend Z, who looked at him with a smile, were delighted by such a surprise. Lin Jinchen thanked the gods for their presence here and asked them for help. Our hero's beloved approached the poor fellow, took him by the hand and said that she could not even imagine that Lin Jinchen would actually run for the Lish fish pendant at her request. After a short pause, she added that Lin Jinchen was a good person and always listened to her wishes. With her slender fingers, she removed the relic from the hero's finger, saying that he wouldn't mind if she took it as a parting gift. Winking, the girl added that she would never forget his kindness. After taking the ring, the girl took a few steps back. Lin Jinchen still didn't understand what she wanted to say. But a moment later, he saw his best friend and the love of his life united in a passionate kiss. After breaking away from each other, Jieji explained that she was now with Ji, and Lin Jinchen was just trash in the path of their love, so they came here to get rid of the trash. Looking at this picture, Lin Jinchen lost faith in people and treated them like family. And now, dying, he still could not believe that they had betrayed him as the last ones. Ding, 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 the annoying sound of a talking alarm clock will make anyone wake up just to shut it up. Opening his eyes, Lin Jinchen held his head and wondered where he was and why this place looked like his old dorm. He clearly remembered that he had been killed with one blow by the Burning Dragon, the Ascension World Boss, a few minutes ago. So why was Lin Jinchen still alive? Unable to find an answer to this question, Lin Jinchen tried using his storage ring and Danfu, but found that he no longer possessed these artifacts. Lin Jinchen slowly turned his gaze to the wall where the calendar was and found that it was August 7th, 2040. With tears in his eyes, Lin Jinchen instantly realized that he had been reborn 10 years earlier, the day before the game started. Quickly coming to his senses, Lin Jinchen wondered why he was reborn. After thinking for a few minutes, Lin Jinchen remembered that in the 8 Wastelands, there was a legend that the Supreme Divine Fish Pendant, an artifact dropped by the Ascension World Boss's Burning Dragon, could resurrect a player. Was that really true? After thanking the boss, Lin Jinchen praised himself for not putting the pendant in the ring. Otherwise, those two bastards would have stolen it. After changing into some more acceptable clothes, Lin Jinchen walked out onto the street, thinking that he had loved Jieji for 10 years. Approaching the mirror, Lin Jinchen looked at himself in the mirror. He could not believe that she had gone to his best friend, and not only that, they had also stolen all his elixirs and artifacts, after which they had thrown them to the mutant beast to be torn apart. Lin Jinchen looked up at the mirror and looked at himself with confidence, realizing that the heavens had not yet turned away from him, after which he swore with all the gods that he would make them both know the betrayal. After that, a woman called him on the phone, describing herself as a crazy bitch. Picking up the phone, Lin Jinchen greeted her by calling her crazy. The woman told him to go to hell, that he had just arranged a small hot pot yesterday, doing exercises. The girl added that she was not calling because of this braid and said that she had something to tell, but first she would ask our hero not to be afraid. Lin Jinchen already knew what he wanted to tell, and his girlfriend, 10 years ago, literally at the same time. She called him and then told him that she saw his girlfriend kissing another man. That day, Lin Jinchen did not believe her, and they even had a fight after which they stopped communicating. Throwing down the dumbbells, the girl said that now was no time for jokes, and Lin Jinchen should prepare himself mentally because she had just seen one thing. Lin Jinchen asked which one, and then she told him that she had just seen Jieji kissing another man, and then they got into his sports car and stole it. After hearing this, Lin Jinchen thanked her for this information. Hearing such a weak reaction, the girl began to shout. What she said was actually serious and not joking. Lin Jinchen ignored these words and said that he believed her, but he wanted to say something more important than this event. The girl thought for a moment and said that she doubted that Lin Jinchen was okay because she was scared by how calmly he took it. Lin Jinchen sat down at the computer and asked her if she had ever heard of the game 8 Wastelands. The girl replied that of course she had heard. And then Lin Jinchen looked out the window and confidently said that he was going to become an esportsman. No one knows yet that 8 Wastelands is much more than just a virtual reality game. It will cover the entire world, and in 5 years it will completely merge with it. All abilities, artifacts, game characters, and even bosses, all this turns out to be in the real world. The earlier you join the game of Sunset, the further you can advance. When Lin Jinchen said that he was going to become an e-sportsman, His friend immediately supported him and said that he had always been good at playing, so in her opinion, he had a good future. Lin Jinshin thanked her for her support and said that in 2 days he would move out of the dorm, into a room with them, and would devote all his free time to the game. The girl said that this was very good and she was really happy for him, and also added that she was very glad that he easily took the news of the betrayal. After that, the girl said goodbye, and Lin Jinshin abruptly took the phone, asking her not to leave. She asked, "What else does he want?" Lin Jinshin was a little embarrassed and said that he needed equipment to play, but he looked at his accounts yesterday and found that they were empty, so he needed to borrow a little. My friend immediately started shouting that she didn't have a single kopeck, and also said that yesterday she had insistently told me not to give my girlfriend an expensive birthday present. After that, she hung up the phone and Lin Jinshin looked up sadly and wondered why he couldn't be reborn at least one day earlier. But no, all this didn't happen. He received a money transfer on his phone, as well as a message from a friend who said that this money was for her gym memberships for several years in advance, and she would need them very soon. So if because of our hero she couldn't go to the gym, then he would replace her punching bag. Lin Jinshin left her a voice message and told her not to worry about it, after which he spent the day, rested, and lay down on the bed exactly in full resolve to do everything in the best possible way. When the night came, the game was released worldwide. Lin Jinshin used the device to move into the game locked one of the first. The device worked, and our heroes found themselves in open beta testing of games. Once inside, he thought that he was here after 10 years. Again, this is the very place where his dreams came true. The people who found themselves in the first location noticed a large deity in front of them. Lin Jinshin already knew that contact with the AI. This is the first stage after the start of the game. At first glance, everything is quite simple, but there are a lot of different hidden mechanics here. Therefore, you need to act very carefully. Meanwhile, the rest of the people admired the beauty of this girl and even called her their little sister. Hearing this, Lin Jinshin held his head and thought that they were acting too disgustingly in front of Miss Nua. Nuva got angry, opened a portal, and sent these scum there. The other players could not understand where some of the players were flying to, and Lin Jinshin thought that if she spared them, they would be dressed in a dungeon. If not, they would be constantly haunted by a decrease in characteristics. Lin Jinshin knew that if he wanted to be in her good standing at sunset, he had to act accordingly, so he bowed to her as if she were a deity. The girl noticed this and said that one of the mortals was clearly different from his fellows. She flew closer to him and asked if Lin Jinshin wanted to enter the path of cultivation and become an immortal. The hero introduced himself and said that his name was Lin Jinshin, and he humbly asked his mistress to give him a blessing. Smiling, the woman extended her hand and said that a good fate awaited this man. Lin Jinshin prepared to receive the blessing with a smile. Inside, he thought that his innate talent would help him a lot, and in his past life, he had been given a business genius. Not the most useless skill. A 10% discount on purchases in stores is a nice thing, but very quickly loses its relevance. But Lin Jinshin was ready to receive even this talent one more time, and he didn't care. Because it's not just innate talent. His understanding of the 8 wastelands is enough to gain critical mass even with a bad start. But to his surprise, the hero discovered that a twist of fate had occurred, and now he had a different innate ability. A system appeared in front of him that congratulated its owner that he had received an innate talent called a Twist of Fate. It includes 4 buffs. The first of them is called a Twist of Fate to the Evil of Heaven. This buff gives an increase to luck. The second increases all innate characteristics to the maximum level, but with each death they will decrease by 10%. The third buff says that when moving to a world, all characteristics are doubled. But if the transition fails, then a catastrophe occurs, as a result of which the soul of the heroes will disappear. Well, and the last buff is that when moving to the next world, Lin Jinshin receives a random talent. And to move to each next world, it will be necessary to undergo a divine assessment. After reading all this, Lin Jinshin thought that this talent is simply completely broken. Our hero's view has changed because this talent has not only advantages but also disadvantages, but the risks are worth it. Nua looked at the hero, saying that she had just ripped away his talent, so now Lin Jinshin had to choose his avatar. Lin Jinshin began to scroll through the list of proposed avatars. He knew very well that at first glance the models were no different, but they had a huge difference in characteristics. Finally, Lin Jinshin found what he was looking for. It was the very model that had the largest charisma multiplier among the starting models. Lin Jinshin in his past life chose the ugliest character specifically because he was tired of being a handsome guy. And only after starting the game he realized that appearance directly affects interaction with NPCs. Because of this, Lin Jinshin experienced great difficulties at the very beginning. Because the higher the charisma, the easier it is to get quests and help from NPCs, and there is also a chance to meet a NPC who will offer joint cultivation. When our heroes chose an avatar for themselves, he changed in appearance, deciding that he would definitely make up for everything that was missed last time. When Lin Jinshin finished choosing his avatar, Nua flew up to him and asked him to choose a starting location. There were 4 starting locations to choose from that reflected the classes the player wanted to play. Yuning, Magic Cultivation, Yuehua, Medical, Huafeng, Body Cultivation, Muxian, Blade Cultivation. Lin Jinshin opened his characteristics, thinking that the core base is responsible for the body and blade cultivation limit. The spirit is for magical and medical cultivation, and knowledge is needed to learn skills, while charisma helps to communicate with non-player characters. Well, with luck, everything is clear. Considering his innate skill, Lin Jinshin understood that this time all his characteristics were at the maximum level at once, so if he continued to cultivate, he would instantly become the strongest in the world. Magical cultivation is suitable for mass battles. But in single battles, it is not very good. In a one-on-one battle, a mage cultivator will die very quickly. In his past life, Lin Jinshin felt this in abundance. And he chose her then only because his girlfriend Jie really liked her. And in his new life, Lin Jinshin is going to do things his own way. After some thought, Lin Jinshin finally chose Muxian Province. He reasoned that the strongest should always be ready to accept a fight, and sword cultivators with high single-target damage are perfect for this. Having decided on his class and chosen his province, Lin Jinshin prepared himself to become the strongest blade cultivator in his new life, and may the winds accompany him on this path. Nua sent our hero to the starting village of Muxian. Lin Jinshin appeared among the others who did not understand where to get tasks, and what to do in the starting village at all. Most people in general were surprised at how realistic it was for them. They felt as if they were really in another world. Looking at such a huge number of people, our hero was immediately flooded with memories. Several people had already discovered the old NPC, and a crowd had immediately gathered around him to take the quest. However, Lin Jinshin thought that they were real fools because such a prominent character did not have any quests. Leaving them to have fun, Lin Jinshin knew that he had to head to the Blade Sect. Lin Jinshin walked peacefully in his direction because he understood that there was no need to rush me because he knew the route too well. Suddenly, one of the women stopped him and asked the young man to stop. The other players couldn't understand why Lin Jinshin looked so beautiful, and why NPC Sama decided to talk to him. The girl meanwhile introduced herself and said that she was the owner of a local studio, so she could throw him a few quests if he was interested. After that, the girl hugged our hero and said that her husband died 5 years ago and she was too lonely and sad. And if the task seemed difficult for him, then she would be happy to help him complete it. Finding himself in such a situation, Lin Jinshin realized what maximum charisma is capable of. NPC literally come to him themselves to give quests, and they even want to help. Lin Jinshin immediately came up with a plan. He understood that if he agreed to this mission and established a relationship with her, he would only be able to cultivate in a few days. And if he thought about it, it was simply a gift from above. Lin Jinshin also calmed down with the thought that he was reborn in order to become a better cultivator, since he could refuse such a beauty. So Lin Jinshin bowed and said that he already had plans for today, but he would definitely ask her for a task as soon as he had the opportunity. The girl said goodbye with a smile and asked him not to forget about the task, to which Lin Jinshin replied that he would definitely return. While the rest of the people did not understand, could Lin Jinshin really have refused a task that they could not even apply for? And how was it even possible for his character to fall in love with the player? Lin Jinshin, meanwhile, distanced himself from this group of people and understood that he couldn't waste time on side quests because the real chance for a newcomer was in the sect. Having reached this place, Lin Jinshin met 2 players who warned him not to go there because there was only one silent blacksmith there, and he was also deaf. Lin Jinshin thanked them for the warning and said that he just wanted to go in and see how everything was arranged there. Lin Jinshin headed to the blacksmith. While the other players did not understand why he did this, after all, they heard that missions were given at the entrance to the village, and there you could probably buy at least some equipment, and someone even said that he felt sorry for our hero. After all, some do not understand even such a simple truth. The other players were sure that this deaf man was not a quest NPC, while the blacksmith was angry because he could not forge a blade. Lin Jinshin looked at the anvil when I thought that he was surrounded by a bunch of ignoramuses. The entire blacksmith is the most important NPC in the newbie village, Lin Jinshin thought to himself, and turned up the heat on the anvil. The blacksmith immediately realized his mistake. The temperature was too low, which is why there was not enough heat. After which the blacksmith immediately began to work with redoubled force. And after a few minutes he was already holding an excellent blade in his hands. Having finished his work, the blacksmith turned around and thanked our hero for his help, saying that his assistant was not there today, so there was no one to watch the furnace. The man also said that if Lin Jinshin helped him, then he needed to repay him, so Lin Jinshin could choose any weapon and the blacksmith would lend it to him for exactly 1 day. Our hero thought with a grin that completing this quest gives the right to use weapons for 1 day, so beginners do not pay attention to it. But such an experienced player as Lin Jinshin knows very well that this is a huge plus. Lin Jinshin chose a normal iron blade that gave the strength of 3, saying that it suited him perfectly. The blacksmith said that Lin Jinshin made an excellent choice, after which he raised his finger and said that if Lin Jinshin helped him get 10 pairs of green snake fangs from the bamboo forest in 1 day, he would be rewarded. Lin Jinshin immediately accepted this task and set off on his journey. The other players couldn't understand how Lin Jinshin was able to obtain his blade just a few minutes after the game started. They immediately began to ask how Lin Jinshin was able to obtain this blade, and Lin Jinshin replied with a smile that the blacksmith had just broken up with his girlfriend and he was terribly sad, so he needed to go to him and sing a love ballad. The goal was to touch him. The players all began to sing ballads for the blacksmith. However, this only made him angry. After some time, Lin Jinshin reached the Green Snake Forest, where he quickly found his first victim and destroyed it with 1 blow, gaining 3 experiences. After several more kills, Lin Jinshin obtained a green snake bow, a snake blade, and a snake skin pouch. Lin Jinshin was surprised because in this game, the amount of equipment dropped was extremely small. And he didn't think that he could get so much by killing an ordinary snake, so it can be concluded that this is somehow related to his innate skills. Throwing these thoughts aside, Lin Jinshin decided that the main goal now was to find the snake's fangs. He spent half a day like this, and in the end, Lin Jinshin breathed a sigh of relief, because in addition to 10 pairs of fangs, he received more than 100 poisonous arrows as well as a bunch of copper coins, so it was time to finally return and finish the mission. Having reached the blacksmith, Lin Jinshin threw the bag on the table saying that he brought 10 pairs of fangs. The blacksmith thanked our hero for completing the quest so quickly and gave him a reward. It was an ordinary letter. However, when Lin Jinshin opened it, he saw that it was an invitation to join the Blade Sect. Lin Jinshin thanked the blacksmith and asked if anyone else had received this letter, to which the blacksmith replied that Lin Jinshin was the only one so far. Lin Jinshin said goodbye to the blacksmith, happy that he was the first one to join this sect, while fools want a mission but don't know how to get it. There is no time to waste with these newbies and he must quickly join the sect. But first, Lin Jinshin returned to the center of the newcomer village and announced an auction. He said that the one who bids the highest price will win, and the item will be a snake bow. After a couple of minutes of bidding, one of the girls offered as much as 5,000. She came a little closer and said that she would pay in cash right away. Lin Jinshin already thought that this was a good price, but then another man appeared from there and offered a whopping 6,000. The man immediately introduced himself and said that his name was Jing Hao, and that he was the head of the Wanshi Guild. Inside, the man was thinking that Lin Jinshin had received the equipment right after the game started, which meant that it was very difficult, so he would need to gain his trust a little. Lin Jinshin said that he didn't expect that the head of the Wangshi Guild would always come. Lin Jinshin remembered him very well in his previous life. After Lin Jinshin entered the top 10 in the heavenly ranking, the Wangshi Guild came to him to lure him away, but Lin Jinshin refused them and became hated by this guy, so it is impossible to repeat the same path. Ji also said that he heard Lin Jinshin shouting about how he was selling this equipment for the sake of the wedding, so Lin Jinshin could just ask for how much he needed, and Ji would give it to him, and Lin Jinshin could consider it a friendly gesture. Lin Jinshin thanked the man and said that this was already unnecessary and he was ready to sell this equipment and nothing more. Ji immediately came closer and said that Lin Jinshin received this equipment so quickly. This means that he is a very capable player, and such people can simply be admired. And the Wanshi Guild is exactly the one that lacks such a bow. But just as the man was about to take up arms, the unknown woman announced that she was betting 70,000. After that, people immediately started arguing about how much they would bet, and the price already reached as much as 300,000. Lin Jinshin didn't know which guild this beauty belonged to, But she wasn't afraid to get into a squabble with another guild leader, and it might be possible to use her to trick this guy. Finally, the girl said with a smile that she would bet a whole 500,000. The man got angry and said that his name was G and he was the head of the Vanchi Guild, so the girl should not anger him. The other players couldn't believe that these guys wanted to give 500,000 for beginner equipment. It was just crazy. But many players said that the rich have their own quirks and the girl in front of them stopped to challenge the master from the Vanchi Guild, so it is unlikely that she is as simple as it may seem at first glance. The girl turned away and said with a smile that she didn't care which guild this guy was from, because the one who offers the highest price wins. Inside, she thought that she didn't care at all who was standing in front of her, because he was nobody compared to her mistress. The angry man said that he was not going to buy anything, but inside he did not understand how he could have gotten himself into this, because it really was too stupid to spend 500,000 on some equipment for beginners. But suddenly Lin Jinchen stopped this man and said that he had heard about their guild and if they paid $500,000, he would not only give the bow, but also join them. Jai was clearly interested in this turn of events. And with a smile, he said that if Lin Jinchen encountered any problems in the future, his guild would immediately help him. After that, he came closer and asked for the card number in order to transfer money right now. Lin Jinchen was happy and thought to himself that now was the best time to make an impression so that he could later manipulate this guild as he wanted. Taking his bow, the man laughed, saying that the girl was too beautiful, so he would not take revenge on her, and he also hoped that this incident would be quickly forgotten. Lin Jinchen watched him leave and thought that this guy had just spent 500,000 just to save face. Lin Jinchen knew that this guy would realize the dire situation when he tried to use this bow because the supply was limited and they would disappear immediately. And most importantly, he would use it to complete stupid tasks for beginners, wasting a lot of time. While Lin Jinchen was thinking about this, the pink-haired girl accused him of changing the auction rules on the fly, because at the beginning it was said that the bow would go to the one who bids the most. Lin Jinchen realized that he had angered this woman too much and he would need to find a way to make up for it. After this argument, the girls went into the forest to kill some wild boars. Lin Jinchen found them here because he was following them and greeted the girls. One of them looked at him and asked what he was doing here and also added that no one was happy to see him here. Lin Jinchen smiled and said that he wanted to talk in private. After all, this conversation would not take much time. The girl agreed and first of all asked, why was he looking for her? She thought that Lin Jinchen had already met with Z and had been fooled about their sect, so she needed to guide him on the right path and give him a chance. But instead of the expected words, Lin Jinchen said that he had top-secret news that he could sell for only 500,000. Lin Jinchen came closer and said that the information he would provide could help their guild advance far ahead. The girl was surprised and asked why Lin Jinchen did not sell this news to G, because Lin Jinchen had just begged him for support, and it would probably be better to turn to him. Lin Jinchen waved it off and said that he didn't need such support. After all, this guy is just a dog on a leash, and Lin Jinchen is an independent person and has no money or power, so he wants to earn a living that he can lose at any moment. The woman thought, however, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. This proverb is known to everyone, and probably the lady of their guild also hates this guy. So perhaps in the future they will be able to cooperate with this hero. But hasn't his attitude changed too quickly? Lin Jinchen provided her with his bank account, saying that he would provide the information immediately after payment. The girl decided that if he was telling the truth, she might lose an excellent opportunity to get ahead of the other guilds. Therefore, she immediately transferred the money to his account, and Lin Jinchen was happy and told her to get ready. Inside, he was thinking that he had just entered the game and had already earned 1,000,000, and this was just super. Despite the fact that after he merged with reality, the money would be useless. But for now, he needed something to live on. After receiving the money, Lin Jinchen looked away and asked the girls not to waste their time on these boars, and to take a mission from the blacksmith instead. The girl immediately shouted that the blacksmith does not give any missions. She took out her blade, deciding that if G came to the heroes to deceive and whoever she was, she would finish him off right in this forest. Lin Jinchen replied with a smile that they did everything wrong, so he is now telling how to get it and his quest. For this, you need to blow out his bellows after his remark, and then they will receive the task, and if she does not believe, then she can ask one of her people to do it. Also acquiring Lin Jinchen added that they are obliged to do everything in secret and do not tell other players, otherwise the information will be useless. After all these words, Lin Jinchen took out a piece of paper and said that this task was nothing compared to the final reward. The girl recognized this item and asked if this was really a letter from the Blade sect. to which Lin Jinshin replied that only by receiving it could one find out the location of the sect and join it. By the way, it ended, he said that he didn't know anything else. And everything that happens next depends only on the girls. Lin Jinshin began to leave, and the girl unconsciously asked why he decided to share this with her. After looking at her again after a short pause, Lin Jinshin replied that it was probably because she was too cute. Because of this, the girl blushed and froze in place. Lin Jinshin had already left when a friend of his, the girl, noticed that a huge king of boars was chasing him. The girls who ran away from him said in horror that it was all over, and they seemed to have met the first boss because this boar was much larger than the others. The girl with pink hair immediately gave the order to leave as quickly as possible because they currently don't have enough people to fight against the boss. Lin Jinshin appeared immediately after these words and said that they were very lucky to have met the biggest boss among the newcomers, and if they did not want to kill him, then he would take him for himself. One of the girls asked, "Is Lin Jinshin really going to challenge the Boar King?" Lin Jinshin looked at them and ignored these words, saying that he had recently sold his bow and arrows, so he was asking to borrow a blade. The main one among them gave him her blade and asked him not to kill himself. Lin Jinshin immediately took out the blade from its sheath, thanking her for the temporary gift. After that, Lin Jinshin prepared to fight the first boss in this game. Inside, he thought that if he knew that he would meet him before selling the bow and arrows, he would have held off on it. However, there was nothing to be done, but one could not deny the fact that it would have been much easier to kill him with a bow. After a few hits of the settings, I realized that tactics were needed here and retreated a little, after which he began to run away and provoke the boar to catch up with him. The girl was sadly told that it looked like he had already given up. However, he laughed and was told that it was very cute to see such a handsome man running away. Lin Jinshin ran to the cliff, and then he jumped up at the very last moment, causing the boar to hit his head on the rock with all his might, having lost some of his health and having broken off one of his fangs. After that, the rock collapsed and dealt him some more damage. Then Lin Jinshin appeared and began to finish him off in his weak spot. After a series of blows, Lin Jinshin jumped up and ended up on top, and he prepared to deliver the fatal blow. Having finished off this wounded boar boss, when it was over, he got off the boar and noticed that the atmosphere around him had changed. Lin Jinshin received a notification from the system that he had just broken through to the chi refining phase, and due to his talent, all of his stat points had doubled. Lin Jinshin knew that a phase breakthrough meant entering the path of an immortal cultivator. However, he didn't expect that he would be able to level up so quickly. He also received a notification from the system that he had received a random talent as a reward and also increased his life ability by 10%. For the first time, he was happy, because it is very useful to receive such bonuses at an early stage. The characteristics doubled and life abilities increased by 10%, while others only had 1,000 points in the chi purification phase, and Lin Jinshin already had as many as 2,000. The system asked if Lin Jinshin wished to hide his name, to which Lin Jinshin replied that there was no need to open it. After all, they weren't in a cheap manga where the main characters were just in the shadows. As soon as Lin Jinshin agreed to this, the system notified all other players that Lin Jinshin I had killed the boss in the game 8 Wastelands, received 200 experience points and 1 point of innate luck as a reward, and the players could not believe that someone had already leveled up enough to kill the boss. After all this, Lin Jinshin looked down and saw that he had dropped some loot, namely the Red Cloud Sword spiritual item, the Shining Staff spiritual item, as well as the Void Book spiritual item and a pile of gold. Lin Jinshin collected all of this and also received a notification that due to his innate talent, a disaster would occur in 30 minutes. Therefore, he had to be careful. Lin Jinshin already knew that this was a side effect of the twists of fate. The breakthrough of the unknown phase would lead to disaster, and if he could not escape, the Dua would be scattered. Lin Jinshin started running to quickly reach everyone who could help him there. Along the way, a pink-haired girl asked Lin Jinshin if he wanted to be added as a friend, and the equipment he had just received could be sold for a good price. Lin Jinshin quickly accepted her friend request and continued running. The girl was surprised and wondered why Lin Jinshin was rushing somewhere so quickly. Are they really more terrible than the Boar King? After some time, Lin Jinshin reached the sect and prayed inside for it to help him get rid of this disaster. Lin Jinshin pushed all the disciples in his path, shouting that he was willing to become a disciple of the Blade sect. Meanwhile, the weather was getting worse and worse, with dozens of lightning bolts striking the sky every second. The other players didn't understand what was happening. The head of the Blade sect came down to her disciples and asked what was going on here. But noticing the terrible weather, She thought that given that it was a sign of disaster, perhaps one of her students had made a breakthrough. She looked at her sect elders and asked who cultivated, but they all answered as one that they didn't know. Suddenly, Lin Jinshin burst into the main courtyard waving an invitation to the Blade sect, introducing himself as he walked and begging for help. Having reached the head, he humbly bowed and quickly muttered all the necessary words, asking for help. Inside, Lin Jinshin understood that with his current abilities, he could not resist the power of the heavenly in childhood. So all that was left was to pray for help. The head of the sect, at the last moment, protected him from disaster. After which the weather cleared up, Lin Jinshin was glad that he did not die. After all, if he died, he would have to start all over again and he would not only lose time, but also opportunities. One of the teachers said that this was simply unthinkable. At the early stage of purification, a heavenly catastrophe occurred and he literally saw something like this for the first time. And this means that Lin Jinshin is extraordinary and in the future, he will definitely become a great master. The rest of the teachers and students began to approach our hero shouting that he was a genius, and also asked him how he was not yet their student. After all, they were ready to give all their resources to help him practice. Lin Jinshin thought that there were a lot of big shots in sects who would help him solve the problem with the disaster. And all the elders wanted to take him as a disciple, and he was in a huge plus. But he would have to play, because he couldn't worry too much because such behavior would ruin the elders' impression of him. But suddenly the sect leader came down and said that Lin Jinshin would join her and be her disciple. All the elders understood that she was not teaching anyone. And this hero was just an exception, and he was incredibly lucky. The leader meanwhile flew close enough and asked if Lin Jinshin was ready to become a disciple and practice under her guidance. At the same time as Lin Jinshin said these words, he received a notification from the system that this was the greatest chance to enter the Blade sect. Lin Jinshin could become the sect leader's disciple, and all that was needed was his consent. Lin Jinshin bowed politely, saying that he wished to become Leng Fei's disciple. After these words, she said that from today on, Lin Jinshin is her only disciple. Inside, Lin Jinshin was also happy because he had just come to this sect and had already received the most beautiful white and long socks. They went to the courtyard together, and along the way the leader said that the Blade Palace is the central place of the sect. It is quiet and calm, no fuss. From now on, Lin Jinshin will practice here, and later she will ask for equipment for him, and he will be taken to the chambers. Lin Jinshin thanked her for such generosity, and the head replied that he should come to the main hall in an hour. Noticing how distant she was, Lin Jinshin decided that he would have to hurry if he wanted to impress her. An hour later, Lin Jinshin was already at the right place. However, no one had come yet. Lin Jinshin decided to try searching by himself, and along the way, he thought about how there were so many pagodas in the Blade sect's inner palace, which raised the question, are there any interesting secret places here? As Lin Jinshin approached the main palace, he thought that it was quite unusual. Lin Jinshin decided to go inside and carried out his plan. But immediately after that, he saw the head of the sect completely naked in front of him. The girl immediately asked, "Who dared to enter here?" She turned around, covering herself with a sheet, and Lin Jinshin immediately fell to his knees, asking for forgiveness from the master. However, instead, she attacked him with a spirit blade and almost killed him. Then she approached his wounded body and asked who gave him permission to break into her chambers. Lin Jinshin, kneeling, said that the master ordered him to come to the main hall. However, no one came to him in the end, so he decided to get acquainted with the area himself, and he did not go into this palace on purpose. Inside, Lin Jinshin thought that he was a real loser and all he needed to do was just not to spoil the impression. The woman took out a pill, saying that those who don't know can't be blamed. She gave it to our hero, saying that from now on, he would never again enter her palace without her order. Lin Jinshin received it and saw the description of the item. It was a purple jade pill. After taking it for 5 minutes, all combat stats would increase by 30 points, and outside of combat, 3,000 health points would be restored. Lin Jinshin thanked her again, but she quickly used magic to throw him out the door. Lin Jinshin hid the pill, telling himself that it was better not to take it for now and save it for a rainy day. After that, Lin Jinshin looked up and saw a young girl in front of him. She greeted him and said that she was now his senior and she had come to help him get settled. Lin Jinshin greeted her and bowed, causing her to smile and say closedly that she saw that Lin Jinshin was familiar with the customs. She introduced herself by saying that her name was Nan, and she was currently in the late stage of crystallization and would now look after him. While she was saying all this, Lin Jinshin received a notification that they had become friends from the first meeting, and this girl's favorability increased by 10. Lin Jinshin decided that he didn't expect to receive a plus 10 favor points at the first meeting. Therefore, he decided to continue to keep a straight face, saying that he expected his sister to be so beautiful and also good at cultivation. The girl was a little embarrassed, saying that she didn't expect the young student to flatter her so much. Lin Jinshin slowly stood up, saying that there is a good saying, cultivation must be diligent and not just skillful. After that, he moved towards her with a smile and braided her hair, saying that it was better to flatter than to work. Because of this excellent day, the girls laughed, and Lin Jinshin once again received a notification that her favorability had increased by plus 15. Lin Jinshin was pleasantly surprised that he had increased his level of long inclination so quickly, and compared to the master, this girl was much easier to handle. Depending on the level of favor between players and characters, hidden tasks are opened, and the possibilities may be different. As a rule, if the level of long-term inclination with a character of the opposite sex has reached the stage of reciprocity, then physical contact can begin. Lin Jinshin decided to get a partner as soon as possible and start pair cultivation. However, there is one problem. Increasing the chance of favor is not so easy, because in his simple life he illuminated the players who fell in love with characters, and everything ended badly. While Lin Jinshin was thinking about this, suddenly the injuries he had just received made themselves felt, and he coughed up blood. The eldest immediately came up to him and asked him, "Is he really hurt somewhere?" Lin Jinshin knew that if he didn't take this pill, he wouldn't recover for a long time. However, it was very good that his new girlfriend noticed that he was feeling bad, and perhaps he could take advantage of the situation and see what she could offer him. Lin Jinshin stood up with a smile and said that nothing terrible had happened. He was just looking for a place to stay and accidentally ended up in the master's palace and she beat him. The girl with slightly wet eyes said that it was all her fault, because the master asked to take our hero to the room, but the novel, which she considered so interesting that she ended up staying. After these words, she immediately handed him the medicine and asked him to take it as quickly as possible. The girl repeated once again that it was her fault. If she hadn't gotten carried away reading, the master wouldn't have injured our hero, to which Lin Jinshin said that it wasn't her fault at all, because he had allowed himself too much. After these words, the girl looked at him, braiding, and said that her brother was too kind, and the level of their relationship with her increased to 20. She thought for a bit and took out her pendant. She said that this jade pendant is her compensation. Jade pendants give protection plus 10, heart protection plus 5, and outside of combat they restore 1% of energy per second, and also has the ability of a spiritual shield, which is formed from energy for 0.5 seconds during a duel and withstands one attack of the enemy's crystal sphere. But the ability recharges for as long as 15 minutes. She threw her pendant away, saying that Lin Jinshin could take it. Lin Jinshin was amazed by such generosity and said that this jade pendant was the best of the spiritual equipment, and this spiritual shield skill was simply unmatched. To which the elder replied with a smile that she still had plenty of other treasures, so she would not become poor. After finishing these words, she said that it was time for them to go to the fairy hall. All the equipment for beginners was placed. Lin Jinshin thanked them for their help. Inside, he was happy and charitable to himself for being able to get out of this. Because of this incident, he only received excellent things, so the characters should be treated like people and their emotions should be read. But now, only Lin Jinshin knows this. Having reached the Hall of Newcomers, the girl said that this was an array of gathering spiritual energy of the earthly level, and by meditating or practicing here, Lin Jinshin would absorb spiritual energy much faster. She also added that not all newcomers can practice here, and she envies him. After all, when she came here, she was not allowed to be here. Lin Jinshin knew very well that under normal circumstances, beginner players could meditate anywhere, but their level would increase more slowly. And he didn't even think that he would have access to an array of spiritual energy collection. And most likely the master specially created it for our hero. After all this, the girl said goodbye, saying that her mission was finally completed and thanked our hero for the pleasant conversation, saying that they would see each other again. Lin Jinshin began to meditate and received a notification that, due to the fact that he was now in such a place, the absorption speed was 52 points per hour. Lin Jinshin was incredibly happy inside. Without the speed is more than tens of times faster than the speed in the first stage of normal purification, and at this rate, if he meditates here for 3 hours, he will reach the full level of purification. After such a long game session, Lin Jinshin decided to take a short break and return to the real world. The first thing Lin Jinshin did was check his bank account and see that it was over 1 million. This huge figure instantly cheered him up, because in just 5 hours, Lin Jinshin had earned more than 1 million and would finally be able to completely change his worthless fate. The next morning, Lin Jinshin invited his girlfriend to visit him. The girl approached the door and was about to knock. However, Lin Jinshin was already waiting for her near the peephole, so he immediately opened the door and greeted her. The first thing the girl asked him was if he had even seen the time, and began to scold him for the fact that no one would invite him anywhere at such an early hour, because she was going to go for a morning jog. Lin Jinshin smiled and said that he wanted her to appreciate his new apartment. The girl went inside and was surprised at how good the apartment Lin Jinshin rented was. Lin Jinshin replied that the rent here is also not small and is about 56,000 per month. With a smile, the girl came closer to him and said that she saw that he had not wasted his time and that I probably spent all the money from her in the gym. Lin Jinshin laughed and said that of course he spent all her money so as not to use her for this. After that, the girl immediately climbed on top of him and began to strangle him, asking, "Does he really have no conscience at all to spend her money so brazenly?" She had already swung to hit him. However, she felt something with her hips. Lin Jinshin looked down guiltily, after which she became even more angry and prepared to beat him. However, they were interrupted by a courier who said that the gaming chair that Lin Jinshin ordered had already arrived, and he had to open the door. Otherwise, the order would be cancelled. Lin Jinshin looked at the girl and said that he had earned some money in the game, so he decided to buy a chair. When this miracle of technology was brought into the house, Lin Jinshin asked her if it was enough to compensate for the money he owed her for the gym, and Lin Jinshin added that he did not think it would fit in her dorm. And if he left it at her house, her father would probably break it, so he offered her to live with him for now and he could also provide a room. The girl was incredibly happy, saying that this was the latest model and that she needed to quickly take a photo and post it. Lin Jinshin was surprised that she was no longer angry and realized that money really could solve 99% of all people's problems. Therefore, it was better to return to the game and earn a little more money. Returning to the game, he found the head of the sect in front of him, who said that his cultivation was truly the best of all that she had ever seen. Lin Jinshin thanked her, saying that his cultivation was stuck at the early stage of purification, and he did not know how to make a breakthrough. Inside, Lin Jinshin of course understood that special elixirs were required to complete the mission, and he needed to find out from the master if she had any elixir that would help with a breakthrough. The master took out one of her pills, saying that it was a pill of the highest quality collection, and only after taking it did Lin Jinshin rush to the middle stage of purification. Lin Jinshin smiled and extended his hands, thanking her for such a push. However, unexpectedly, Master said that although Lin Jinshin was incredibly talented, he should know that a truly strong person not only had a high level of cultivation, but also experience in battle. Lin Jinshin bowed his head, remembering everything he had experienced, saying that he knew that greenhouse flowers were unworthy and only trees growing in bad weather could become strong. Lin Jinshin knew inside, because he had already found out in his past life that in this game the action limit was very high. You could feed your cultivation with kryptonite and buy equipment, but combat experience could only be gained in real battles. The master was surprised and said that Lin Jinshin was quite insightful and much calmer than she expected. Because of this, the favor points increased and now they were equal to 5. Lin Jinshin immediately imagined strange pictures in his head and was incredibly happy that he was able to win the favor of the master, which means that it is impossible for me to conquer the leader. But after that, he quickly discarded these thoughts, because in this life, he wants to become the best cultivator and not a seducer. Master slowly stood up and said that Lin Jinshin should now go to the mission hall and choose a difficult level mission of the Qi refining realm. After completing it, the pill would be his. Lin Jinshin agreed. However, from here on the master said that before Lin Jinshin starts, she wants to give him the Sutra of the Blade Sect. This is what every student of the text should study, and the more Lin Jinshin practices the mind, the more benefit there will be, so she hopes that he will practice very hard. Lin Jinshin took the gift and thanked his master, thinking inwardly that even though this technique could be learned by all disciples, if they wanted to master it, they would have to complete the sect's tasks. However, he didn't need that now. When Lin Jinshin went outside, he noticed that many players had already joined the sect. This is because the mission with the letter, although hidden, there are other ways to get it. Soon there will be even more people in sects. But Lin Jinshin thought that he didn't care anymore because he became a disciple of the master. While Lin Jinshin was thinking about this, he was met by the girls he helped enter the Blade sect. Lin Jinshin learned that the girl's name was Wanling, and realized that she had joined the sect along with the others after Lin Jinshin sold her the information Da Yi was now becoming more and more connected. Lin Jinshin laughed and said that it was an incredible coincidence to see them in the blade sect. The girl said with a smile that she liked wielding a blade, so she also chose this sect. Lin Jinshin immediately said goodbye, saying that he still had things to do. Therefore, it would be better to talk to another time. The girl was surprised because she didn't even finish speaking and he left again. Assistant Wang said that Lin Jinshin was quite strange, so it would be very difficult to get him, which is why Wang asked, why did the assistant even think that she was going to get this guy? When Lin Jinshin reached the mission hall, he heard that one of the women was waiting for him. Lin Jinshin approached her and greeted her with a bow, saying that the disciple had come to receive a mission. The girl said with a smile that he could choose, and also reminded him that it was better to give priority to what he was truly most confident in. Lin Jinshin looked at one of the missions and thought that the easiest mission among these was to collect mortal herbs. However, other than gaining experience, there was no benefit, so it was just a waste of time. The mission at the next level is already more difficult, all sorts of monster hunting, but combat experience will not increase much. Lin Jinshin noticed one of the most difficult missions and said that he would choose this one because it was a special mission. Special missions often open special rewards, and Lin Jinshin had already learned the Blade Sect Sutra that increases combat performance by 5%. And thanks to his familiarity with the city where this mission is taking place, he will be able to break through. The hellish mission is that Lin Jinshin will have to help and restore the lost secret blade techniques. The system immediately warned our hero that this task is too difficult, and disciples with a low cultivation level should be careful in choosing. The description of the task says that the disciple of the Blade Sect Zhang Hai is an assassin outside, and his secret technique was captured, so you need to help avenge his name and return the lost. The reward for the mission is 100 low-grade spiritual stones, which is 1 top-grade pill, 1 spiritual martial art for sect contribution points, and there are also hidden rewards. The NPC approached our hero saying that the mission is not easy, so she advises him to think a little more, because the person who killed Zhang is probably in the late stage of the realm of sensation, which is much higher than our hero. It is also written that if the students have unfinished tasks, they cannot take on others. Lin Jinshin thanked for this information. However, he said that he had already decided to choose this mission. The main players laughed and said that it was simply complete nonsense that Lin Jinshin was going to choose such a difficult mission. They also talked about how there was too little evidence in this mission, and that finding the killer was like looking for a needle in a haystack. But Lin Jinshin didn't pay attention to them, and finally reached the desired city at night, knowing that the key to completing the mission lay here. As soon as Lin Jinshin showed up in front of one of the taverns, he was immediately greeted by 3 girls who were delighted that an immortal from the Blade Sect had come to visit them, which meant that they had a highly respected guest. Entering inside, Lin Jinshin saw a herald. More news that sect leader Xuanwu today broke through to the divine transformation realm and his strength increased. And Fei from Polar Sky Valley and the great elder of the Red Sun sect got married. This is a mighty alliance. Lin Jinshin knew that this was something like a reporter in real life. He knows everything that happens in the 8 wastelands, and his daily job is to tell stories and report news. If you listen patiently, you can even find clues for the mission. The man slammed his hand on the table and declared that Zhang, a disciple of the Blade Sect, had been killed. The killer was a late-stage cultivator. They said it was Zhou, a ruthless man. When all the news ended, Lin Jinshin caught up with the speaker and asked him to stop, saying that he wanted to buy the news. Most newbies immediately rushed to complete the mission. But Lin Jinshin is familiar with the rules, so if you want to get a hint, you will have to spend money. The man smiled and said that if Lin Jinshin wanted to buy the news, it was no problem. As long as he had money, he could tell him everything he needed. Lin Jinshin threw down the money bag and asked where Zhou was now, to which the speaker replied that this man was the most depraved person he knew and he often appeared in the flower tower, so he could be looked for there. The man also said that there was another interesting piece of news, but he would have to pay 5 spiritual stones for it. After that, the man said that because of our hero's generosity, he was ready to tell that the killer had a brother named Shen, but he was already at the base stage, so you need to be careful with him. With this knowledge, Lin Jinshin went to the flower tower of Fengqiu City. Zhu left the establishment late at night. After saying goodbye to the prostitutes, he asked them to turn him in next time. Lin Jinshin found the target, and he followed this guy all the way to the forest so that there would be no witnesses. When the man noticed the pursuit, He immediately took out his blade and said that the kid in the purification stage would not be able to take revenge. After that, he rushed to attack. However, Lin Jinshin deftly dodged. After that, they exchanged blows and Lin Jinshin was able to repel each of them. The man shouted that it was simply impossible and asked where our hero got such strength from. Laughing, the hero replied that he was not strong. It was just that his opponent was a weakling. Inside, he was thinking that after practice, all the characteristics had increased by 5%, which was a noticeable increase. When a man gets angry, he uses one of his signature moves. However, Lin Jinshin managed to use a spiritual shield to block it there, and he remained without a single scratch. After everything cleared up, Lin Jinshin said that the skill was indeed quite good. The assassin, meanwhile, said that if Lin Jinshin gave him all his equipment, he would be saved. Lin Jinshin was surprised by such boldness. And then the assassin rushed to attack Lin Jinshin. He returned from each of his blows. The killer couldn't believe that he had missed every time. After that, he jumped back in order not to give an advantage to our hero. However, Lin Jinshin immediately rushed to attack and knocked off 90 of his health with one blow. After that, Lin Jinshin made a series of strikes and almost killed this guy, thinking inside that now it's clear why he can't win, because his characteristics are several times lower. Having defeated the killer, Lin Jinshin ordered him to give up the secret techniques. The man immediately shouted that he admitted defeat and asked not to kill him, and he would give everything that Lin Jinshin wanted. Suddenly, Lin Jinshin noticed that someone was approaching and immediately tried to dodge the huge blade. The killer was happy because his brother came to his aid at the foundation stage. Looking at this cultivator, Lin Jinshin was surprised because this man was clearly stronger than he could have previously imagined. The brother approached the killer and said that he actually told him not to stick his head out. However, the killer did not listen, and if the brother had not noticed that the killer had gone closed, then he would already be dead. The killer begged his brother for help and shouted that he would never again contradict his brother's words. The brother looked at our hero and said that he could summon if he gave up the spiritual shield. Lin Jinshin refused, and then his brother said that it would be convenient for him to die. The killer took out a potion and said that he was now gaining his strength and would also help. But suddenly he received a fatal blow. It was Lin Jinshin who, at an insane speed, finished off this guy who wanted to heal. The brother got angry, and Lin Jinshin said that it turns out that this guy didn't know that those who talk a lot die first. Lin Jinshin pointed the blade at his new opponent and said that he would kill them both in order to gain even more rewards. However, the furious man rushed to attack and delivered one precise blow. Lin Jinshin was immediately injured and thought that things were terrible. This guy would be much more difficult to deal with than his brother. Lin Jinshin entered the fray, but was unable to land a single blow. Inside, Lin Jinshin was thinking that, even though this guy was faster, the hero was still more experienced, so he needed to think everything through in advance and not take unnecessary risks. And the opponent was thinking that he was now at the stage of building the main thing. And here was some kid with an early by the way. The feeling was that he wouldn't be able to lose somewhere. It would be a real shame. Lin Jinshin decided to use Shadow Step to dodge most of the attacks. However, Turkey's opponent used one of his abilities called Bifurcation, saying that Lin Jinshin was still too stupid and naive. Lin Jinshin immediately remembered that he had already dealt with this cloning technique in the past, and at first glance all the clones seemed the same. But in fact they were different, and if they were prioritized a little, it would be possible to determine which of them was real. For example, only the enemy in the center has brightly glowing eyes, while the others have eyes that are clearly dimmer. Lin Jinshin found the original body and used the armor-piercing skill. And then he struck his blow. The man became enraged and launched a furious attack in order to avenge this shameful blow. Lin Jinshin realized with horror that the speed of this guy's strikes was too fast, and he couldn't resist. Lin Jinshin took out a purple pill, thinking that his health had already dropped by a third, and if he continued like this, he could be killed. And if he lost, all his stats would drop by 10%, so he couldn't die. Lin Jinshin swallowed the pill with the thought that he didn't want to use it for a while. However, there was no other choice. He needed to save his life. As soon as Lin Jinshin consumed the pill, he noticed that his strength had increased several times, and health was also restored by 3,000 points. The opponent rushed to attack. However, this time Lin Jinshin had enhanced abilities, so he did not even dodge. The opponent laughed and said to Roll that it seemed that the pill that Lin Jinshin was shining was incredibly good, and he did not expect that he had so many treasures, but he still laughed, saying that these things only help for a while, and they have a time limit. Lin Jinshin said that the man was right and that he had time, after which he immediately struck, saying that he would have to deal with it quickly. After such a heavy blow, the opponent wondered, when did Lin Jinchen become so powerful? He decided to change tactics and began to defend himself in order to withstand the time limit of this pill. However, during the battle, Lin Jinchen gradually comprehended the essence of blade mastery, and his blade mastery ability increased by 5. Lin Jinchen had already practically won, and there wasn't a single living space left between the guys. The man thought that Lin Jinchen was most likely a big shot in the blade sect, so he should not be let go under any circumstances. After that, he used his skill called Void Step. However, Lin Jinchen managed to dodge it. After that, Lin Jinchen got as close as possible and dealt him a final critical blow, killing that guy. Immediately after this, Lin Jinchen received a notification that the hellish difficulty mission had been completed and he needed to return home to collect the reward. Lin Jinchen looked at what was left of the two and thought that the mission would really make him rich. Therefore, he needed to return quickly. However, Lin Jinchen decided to do one more thing before leaving this place. The next morning, Lin Jinchen went to the city center, thinking that he had completed a mission for the first time, so he would need to give a gift to the master. As they say, etiquette is etiquette, but kindness is also important. In this world, respect from a student to a master is a must, and moreover, it will definitely increase favor. But what to give? Lin Jinchen approached the jade shop with the thought that no woman could resist jewelry and he needed to buy her something great. After that, he finished shopping and returned to the sect, holding out the mission. He said that he was here to hand over the task. The girl was surprised at how quickly Lin Jinchen completed his task. The other disciples could not believe that Lin Jinchen had completed his mission so quickly, because in order to complete it, he had to have at least the level of advanced QE purification. The woman who accepts missions said that Lin Jinchen is worthy of being in the inner courtyard and has a bright future ahead of him, so she wishes him luck and enlightenment. And as an additional reward, she also gave him 100 low-grade spiritual stones. Lin Jinchen collected all these stones and thanked her for such generosity. Lin Jinchen immediately received a crowd of fans who admired him. Lin Jinchen asked them to move aside and added that he appreciated their kindness, but he still had things to do. The others had already started begging him to join the exit to death. And so Lin Jinchen made the decision to escape from them as quickly as possible to the inner courtyard. They couldn't deliver it there because there were guards at the entrance who controlled the passage into the courtyard. The players were very surprised when they learned that Lin Jinchen was an inner sect disciple. Having escaped from his pursuers, Lin Jinchen reached the master, who immediately replied that she had heard that Lin Jinchen had completed the hellish mission. She looked at him with a stern gaze, saying that she actually said to take a difficult level mission, not a hellish one, because if Lin Jinchen died, he would leave the sect without a genius. Lin Jinchen said that he realized his mistake, and then the master said that what was done could not be undone, after which she asked what level the opponent was. Lin Jinchen bowed his head and said that at first he thought that the maximum was the level of purification, but then his brother appeared with the realm of foundation construction. The master looked at her disciple and asked if he had really defeated him on his own, to which Lin Jinchen replied that he did not want to lie, and if it were not for the master's pill, he would never have managed it. Master replied that the gap between the realms was huge, so from this day on, Lin Jinchen should not act so recklessly. She also added that Lin Jinchen was the most talented disciple of her sect, so she asked him to keep this talisman and only use it in the brink of life and death. With these words, she threw a divine talisman at him that can only be used once, and it is also forbidden to use it in battles between players. Lin Jinchen took this gift and thanked his master. Inside, he was happy that with the support of the master, he could do anything, and there was no way he could ruin the relationship with her. After that, the master handed him the pills, saying that these were the best pills for collecting qi, as she had promised. And she also said that she hoped that with their help, Lin Jinchen would be able to make a successful breakthrough. Lin Jinchen thanked his master, saying that he would definitely live up to her expectations. But after thinking for a moment, she replied that he was currently lacking in blade skills, so he could practice in the pavilion. Lin Jinchen thanked him again and asked him to wait a few seconds, after which he took out the decoration. Master pulled this valuable thing, while Lin Jinchen said that he wanted to give her a gift and was thinking of buying a spiritual hairpin, but he could only afford a simple one and did not know if the master would like it. The master finally asked him to train harder and not to overexert himself. Lin Jinchen bowed and asked her not to worry, after which she disappeared. As soon as Lin Jinchen was left alone with himself, he thought that the master was distant again and that she probably just didn't like the gift. Well, as soon as he thought about it, he saw a notification from the system which said that he had just increased his relationship with her by 5 points, and now the beginning of friendship had begun. Lin Jinchen happily walked out of the building and went to the pavilion. But on the way, he noticed that something exploded. Lin Jinchen went there and saw an old man sitting in the middle of the destruction. It was the sect elder who was indignant because he had failed again. He did not understand why this pill was so difficult to refine. After that, he looked at the students who were surprised by this explosion and said that he was one of the 12 elders of the blade, and he needed one ingredient, so he also needed someone willing to help him find it. All players immediately saw notifications from the system that an available task had appeared, called the Great Elders Task, Hellish Level. The task is to help find the continuous yin herb before dawn. The rites of continuous yin. This is the most important ingredient in creating this pill. It is extremely rare and can be obtained from the spirit of a migratory falcon. When the players read all this, they began to discuss that this is such an idea, because this is another hellish mission, and you also need to pay in order to get to the valley where this grass grows. Many players have already decided that they are not going to take it on, because they do not want to die at the very beginning of the game. But suddenly, Lin Jinchen declared that he was ready to take on this mission. The old man immediately recognized that this player was Lin Jinchen, the new genius. Lin Jinchen, meanwhile, was thinking that right now, the most influential alchemy master in the Blade sect was in front of him, and if he had a good relationship with such an important person, there would never be any problems. On the same day, Lin Jinchen went to the Valley of the Migratory Falcon, but he arrived there at night. Lin Jinchen knew from his past life that bosses like the Migratory Falcon usually appeared in clearings. That meant he should be somewhere around here. Just as Lin Jinchen thought about this, he discovered the boss. Unfortunately, however, someone had already gotten to him first and it looked like they were all from the same guild. I smiled because watching how more than a dozen newbies could not catch one falcon was very ridiculous. Looking at them, you can say that this boss will completely destroy them in a few minutes. But since Lin Jinchen was a kind person, he decided that it was time to go out and save these poor guys. Lin Jinchen slowly walked up to them and one of the girls recognized him. Lin Jinchen came up to them closely, declaring that he urgently needed this boss to complete the mission, so he asked him to give in. Inside, Lin Jinchen was surprised because it turned out that this was Su Wanling's guild, and if they were familiar, then it would be easy to come to an agreement. Noticing the young man, another woman approached him and asked her subjects if they knew him. Wang replied that in front of them was the master she had spoken of, the very one who had killed the Boar King single-handedly and risen to the top. The girl also added that she bought the information from the blacksmith from our hero. The guild leader thought for a moment and said that Lin Jinchen probably came here for the boss in order to obtain the Blade Sect Sutra. However, she stated that this boss was also no less important to them, the Moonshadow Guild, so they couldn't just give him away. Wang approached our hero saying that she was very sorry, but they really needed this boss for the mission, so they had to catch him. After thinking for a bit, she also suggested waiting until tomorrow when he would update. Lin Jinchen said with a smile that he thought they wouldn't give him the falcon. After that, he said with a smile that, judging by their situation, he wouldn't have to wait until tomorrow either. After all, many of the fighters were already in a deplorable state and were about to. As soon as Lin Jinchen said this, the falcon used its paw to destroy several girls. Lin Jinchen also added that since the boss's health bar had dropped to half, he would soon release a stunning pollen that would reduce physical energy and increase skill recovery time. As soon as the guild leader heard this information, she rushed into battle in order to focus on the battle. Using one of her most powerful spells, she took off another quarter of HP. Lin Jinchen looked at this with sadness and thought that such actions would only anger the falcon, because once the level of his anger increased, not only the attack speed would increase but also the damage he inflicted. Immediately after this, Falcon became angry and almost finished off the guild leader with one blow. During the flight, she used Stone Rain. But this made Falcon even more angry. So Lin Jinchen asked, "Is she really that stupid?" The girl looked at the guy, after which he continued to talk about how he could show how to treat him. But in return, they would give him the herb of continuous yin. The girls immediately agreed, and Lin Jinchen slowly approached them, saying that he was now unusually furious, and the girl continued to tease him with her lights. Lin Jinchen looked at how much health she had left and declared that he could kill her with one claw, since she was a fragile girl. Lin Jinchen walked up to her and took her hand, saying that she should not use the prairie lights, and thus, it would be better to combine the binding hands of the immortal earth to minimize the ugliness. Lin Jinchen guided her hand, telling her to use her second skill, The girl used this skill, and the boss found himself without a visa for some time. Lin Jinshin said that now that she was controlling him from a distance, her comrades could continue to deal damage while he was unable to do anything in response. Having heard this whole guide, the girl thanked our hero with a smile. Lin Jinshin said that there was nothing to thank him for, and while they were discussing this, a group of men suddenly appeared and declared that the Blood Fiend Guild clean up this place. They ordered to leave here because they need this boss, otherwise they will not be so kind. Wang approached the leader and said that the Bloody Fiend Guild was very tightly locked and they definitely couldn't be defeated. The leader replied that they had already lost to this guild many times and they always had to give in. Therefore, this time, even if I don't lose, I will need to show the spirit of their guild because, from the point of view of dynamics, they are much stronger. She also added that they could kill the guild leader with this falcon. If you got closer, however, in that case there is a great chance of missing the leader. Lin Jinshin said that at this moment he can help deal with the boss, but as a reward, in addition to the yin grass, Lin Jinshin wants one piece of equipment from the boss. The chief said that in that case, he could order some to stay and help. Lin Jinshin went to fight and said that he didn't need it, and asked them all to go and fight with another guild. Meanwhile, the head of the Bloody Fiends Guild laughed and said that fighting a falcon alone was just nonsense. The head of the Moonflowers gave the order to engage in a duel with this one. A few minutes later, the entire field turned into hell. There were more men. They said that by entering into battle against them, they would test their own fate. It would be a small lesson, such an unprincipled guild as the Moonflower. Inside, the man was happy, because just a few days after he launched their hands, he had already destroyed someone else's guild. And now he would also take the boss. But just as he thought about it, all the players saw that Lin Jinshin had just killed the boss of the Qi Purification Realm. Lin Jinshin called the girls and said that he had just defeated the falcon, so he was calling them here to share the reward. The monster immediately shouted that Lin Jinshin was a worthless person who stole his boss. Then he pointed his finger at him and said that this kid was able to single-handedly kill a strong boss, and in the future he would definitely become a problem for them, so they should immediately kill him and steal him alive for a generous reward. One of the best fighters in his guild immediately rushed to attack. However, Lin Jinshin finished him off with one blow. Lin Jinshin thought inside that he had practiced for 9 years in his previous life, and that such an oil man would not have a problem at all to cope with the skills of such a person. After that, another guy tried to attack our hero, but Lin Jinshin immediately finished him off. The other players couldn't understand why our hero had such high damage, because he didn't even use skills. Lin Jinshin, meanwhile, said that he was not interested in the feud between guilds, but if it affected him, then absolutely everyone would regret it. After these words, Lin Jinshin rushed through the other fighters like a hurricane, instantly finishing them off, and then asked who wanted to be next. The leader of the Bloody Fiends immediately gave the order to retreat. Veterans or later they will return and take what is theirs. As soon as they killed, the head of the Moonflower Guild approached our hero and thanked him for his help. Lin Jinshin said that there was no need for gratitude because it was just a trifle. He also added that he had dealt with the falcon, so he was giving away all the equipment. And he explained that, as they had agreed, Lin Jinshin would take the continuous yin herb and any other item, and the girls immediately began to talk about how they had never seen so much equipment drop from one monster. The head of the Moonflower Guild approached our hero saying that he killed the falcon alone, so he deserves the right to own all these items, and they are rightfully his. To which Lin Jinshin replied that actually no, and the Moonflower Guild had dealt him a lot of damage before Lin Jinshin came, so he already feels somehow awkward, so he will just take one item along with you. As soon as Lin Jinshin said this, he took away the items he needed. But unexpectedly, Wang transferred a whole 5 million to his account. The head of the guild approached our hero and said that she actually did not introduce herself and said that her name was Liana. Lin Jinshin shook her hand, thinking that the name was somehow too familiar. Memories immediately flashed in his mind. Liana was the second in the ranking in her previous life, and more importantly, she was definitely there, a rich man in Shanghai City. So he had to act quickly and enjoy the aura of this wealth. Lin Jinshin held her hand for too long, causing Wang to quietly hint at it. Lin Jinshin smiled and said that he didn't do it on purpose and was just thinking, causing Wang to think that this guy ignored her for so long, causing her to think that he was just focused on leveling up. But it turns out that he just doesn't like her. Lin Jinshin said goodbye to them and said that if everything was already okay, then it was time for him to return to the sect. He also added that they would still have time to see each other when there was an opportunity. Liana said with a smile that this man was quite nice, to which her assistant replied that she did not understand what was good about him, if he just wanted to take advantage and it was obvious that he was up to something. Liana replied that this could not be, and also added that if everything worked out, then she would give each fighter of the guild a prize of 50,000 yuan. All this was observed by an unknown girl hiding in this tree. It was Lu Xiezi, the most popular streamer on the server. She stood in front of the camera with a smile and said that, "Dear viewers, today's broadcast saw not only the opportunity to enjoy the guild battle, but also the opportunity to see the superiority of the master in action." In her part, comments immediately appeared about how this guy was simply incredibly strong, to which the girl replied that this was true, and Master Lin Jinchen easily defeated the boss at the late stage of chi purification, and such strength was worthy of admiration, and he was also handsome to boot. The girl with loving eyes declared that Lin Jinchen was now the strongest master on the server, and from now on, he was her idol and her god. Many people started saying that he might be a cheater. One of the men who was watching this was loudly cursing because Lin Jinchen had just killed people from his guild and stolen the boss, and now he had also become a local celebrity. The man got angry and said that if he was seen in the game again, he would definitely kill him. Lin Jinchen returned back to the sect in the morning, stating that he had just completed a mission. The elder was surprised and asked him to quickly put the herb on the table. He also threw the award and said that he could not let the students' efforts go to waste. Lin Jinchen received the pill box and thanked the elder. Inside were 3 attribute pills. After taking, the combat attribute will be increased by several points. And there was also a wind bracelet that gives +5 to speed, +8 to evasion, and reduces the recovery time of skills. After putting all of these into his inventory, Lin Jinchen asked if he could ask if the elder was making the formula for the charm pill. Inside, Lin Jinchen remembered that the elder had tried 99 times before he made this pill. Therefore, if Lin Jinchen was telling him the formula now, the old man would probably be kind. The man raised his head up and sadly declared that he was trying for the 10th time. However, it was all in vain. There was no formula. Therefore, he had to cross the river by feeling the stones. After that, the elder looked at our hero and asked why he was so interested. Did he really have any clues? Lin Jinchen pretended to be thoughtful, saying that he remembered reading a book before, and it said something about this, like 3 grams of stone powder, 2 wings of a wild phoenix, 6 pistils of peonies, and 3 yin herbs. As soon as Lin Jinchen said all this, the old man immediately began to cook. And so, on the 11th try, he succeeded. The elder looked at the disciple and said that Lin Jinchen had just done him a great favor. After that, he smiled and handed him one of the artifacts. It was a charm pill. It increases the favorability of NPCs of the opposite sex, increases the speed of approach by 5%, and gives a bonus to favorability. Lin Jinchen was glad that the crack was so generous, because such a pill is very rare. Even knowing the recipe, Lin Jinchen could not get it without this crack, so everywhere has its advantages. I thought. About all this, Lin Jinchen bowed and said that he was infinitely grateful, deciding that he needed to quickly return and apply this pill to the master, because the more her favor, the more benefits Lin Jinchen would receive. However, just as Lin Jinchen was about to leave, the old man stopped him. After that, he asked if the student liked alchemy, because the man now wanted to accept him as his student and teach him this art. Lin Jinchen was surprised. He could not believe that the man really wanted to take him as a student, but he also did not understand what he needed to do. This situation was smoothed over by the master who suddenly appeared. She asked, "Does the elder really want to take away her only student?" Lin Jinchen didn't understand why she came now and prayed that she understood everything correctly, because he didn't even intend to agree to be the elder's disciple. The elder smiled, saying that the master had misunderstood everything. Lin Jinchen was simply very talented in alchemy, so he wanted to teach him. The master thought for a while and replied that it turned out that she really had misunderstood everything. Lin Jinchen immediately calmed down, thinking that thank God she was not angry. After that, the master said that she still thinks that her student is somewhere in tune with you in cultivation, and what their sex lacks most is not alchemists, but powerful immortals. After all these words, the master looked at our hero and said, "Stop. They don't have to get upset ahead of time." After all, if her student's condition improves, she will allow him to become both the elder's student and the master's student at the same time. Lin Jinchen couldn't understand why the master looked at him so strangely. Could it be that she was angry? However, this news cheered up the elder. He said that this was a different matter and they came to an agreement. After that, he turned around and said that he would return to alchemy. And for now, they should do their own thing. As soon as they were alone, the master immediately turned around and said that Lin Jinchen should follow her to the Blade Palace because they needed to talk. Lin Jinchen trembled in fear. Because the master's tone was too unkind, Lin Jinchen had already begun to think that perhaps she wanted to settle scores with him. Once in the palace, the woman closed her eyes and said that it seemed that Lin Jinchen was somehow not very satisfied with her as a master. Why don't they then break their agreement so that Lin Jinchen could find someone better? Lin Jinchen was horrified because she really understood everything wrong. He immediately began to bow and say that he did not want to break the agreement with the master and did not intend to leave the Blade sect. After that, he began to apologize for his mistake and say that he did not listen to her and did not focus on improving. Instead, he quickly went to the wall to help with the pill, thereby wasting his time and not living up to her expectations. As soon as Lin Jinchen said all this, he realized that her expression had softened significantly, and it seemed like half of the grievances had already disappeared, which meant that Lin Jinchen was on the right track. Lin Jinchen fell to his knees and began to shout that the woman was the best master in the whole wide world. Her cultivation reached the heavens. She was invincible and looked like an angel, in a word, full of magnificence. And Lin Jinchen sees no point in looking for another master when he already has such a wonderful one. Finally, Lin Jinchen added that she had simply misunderstood everything. And after saying all this, Lin Jinchen received +5 favor. After listening to all this, the woman replied that since Lin Jinchen realized his mistake, she would not scold him. Lin Jinchen once again thanked her for her generosity and promised never to make such stupid mistakes again. Having finished saying all this, he opened the box and handed over his gift as an apology. It was a beauty pill. As soon as the master saw it, she asked where Lin Jinchen was able to get such an extremely rare thing. Lin Jinchen replied that he had helped the old man refine 2 such pills, and the elder had given one of them as a gift, to which the master replied that in that case there was no need to give her such a precious thing, and Lin Jinchen could keep it for himself. Because of this, Lin Jinchen began to get angry inside. He did not understand how someone could be so arrogant and prayed that she would accept it. Lin Jinchen took the master's hand and put the locked pill box in it, saying that the elder also insisted that Lin Jinchen give it to the master. After that, Lin Jinchen raised his gaze and said that when he went outside to do chemistry, he would make himself another one. Lin Jinchen also added that from now on he would practice diligently every day, so the master must accept this gift. After all these words, the master smiled for the first time in a long time. Lin Jinchen was embarrassed and turned away, saying that although her fabulous appearance did not require a beauty pill, Lin Jinchen still hoped that she would accept his modest gift. The master said with a smile that in that case she would accept this gift, and after that the favor increased by +20 and now equaled 35. But after that she stood up and said that as a master, she couldn't help but give something in return. After thinking for a bit, the girl added that she remembered that she had a couple of secret combat techniques that would be very suitable for our hero, and she would bring them later. Lin Jinchen was delighted. The wind. Of course, the higher the favor, the higher the benefit, and the pill was a sure gift. The master headed towards the exit, asking our hero to follow her. Lin Jinchen obediently agreed. He also saw that she had a hairpin in her hair that he gave her. On that same day, Lin Jinchen was able to master a martial skill called the First Phoenix. He decided to try it out right away, and together with his eldest, he took on a difficult task in order to rid the entire village of demons. Together they fought back the demons. Nan shouted along the way that the demon killed innocent people, and today she was drawing his lives, because the time had come to avenge all the residents tragically. Lin Jinchen looked at her and thought that the girl looked much more powerful than she seemed, and he did not expect that her attacks would be so powerful. When they had destroyed most of the demons, a boss appeared. The humanoid demon was surprised that the disciples of the Blade sect came to him themselves. Laughing, he said that he would send them all to hell. Seeing him, Lin Jinchen said that this was simply unbelievable. After all, he was in the early stage of the golden elixir. Nan said that this simply couldn't be. Could it be that the sect's information was incorrect? Lin Jinchen took a closer look and noticed that, judging from the aura, this guy had just broken through, where he said that it was so and stated that if he turns our heroes into 2 demons, then his power will increase even more. After that, Nan grabbed him and dragged him into the sky where they continued their battle. Looking at this, Lin Jinchen thought that when a master of such a level was fighting, a newbie like him at the middle stage of refining his father would better stay away and be more careful because he would have to return to the newbie village with debuffs. Looking at the demon, Lin Jinchen also thought that she was doing quite well on her own. Therefore, it would be better for him to help with the distraction. But while Lin Jinshin was thinking about this, the demon threw down his jug. Lin Jinshin immediately realized that he was probably trying to summon his demonic puppet. And Lin Jinshin was right. An evil spirit called Blood Infant, an elite level, at the middle stage of foundation formation, immediately appeared in front of him. Lin Jinshin instantly cut off the tongue that the demon was about to attack. And overall, this monster didn't cause any problems. But once Lin Jinshin destroyed it, the monster entered its second phase, the Bloodbat. The scream of the Bloodbat shakes the mind. The effect of skills is reduced by 30%. Lin Jinshin took hold of his blade with the thought of remaining calm and not giving in. Concentrating, he used the first Phoenix style and jumped up. Having reached the main demon, Lin Jinshin dealt one weak blow, but the effect that ignores armor for 15 seconds was triggered. Lin Jinshin smiled because this kind of power was several times stronger than the Frost Moon strike. The main demon, meanwhile, was already lying on the floor and understood that he would lose. Lin Jinshin thought that the strength of this seemingly weak and cute sister should not be underestimated, and the first impression was wrong. The demon shouted that he was not going to die alone and threw a jug at her, which broke. Lin Jinshin immediately ordered her to close her mouth and nose, because this was the pollen of charm. However, it was already too late, and the girl succumbed to the influence of this pollen. The demon exploded and threw the girl away. Lin Jinshin caught her and asked how she was feeling. The girl was all ablaze with desire and asked him not to look. Lin Jinshin immediately closed his eyes and said that he would not look. Inside, he knew that the charm pollen awakens lust, and his sister probably encountered such a nasty thing for the first time, so she did not know how to deal with it. While Lin Jinshin was thinking about this, Nan's favorability increased to the maximum limit. She took his hand and placed it on her chest and then said that she needed help. Lin Jinshin immediately thought that this was a pretty good option. However, he pulled himself together and threw her away from himself, not wanting to do anything stupid. Lin Jinshin knew that when she woke up, she would remember everything. And by that time, the level of favor would have already disappeared, and perhaps she would be angry. Lin Jinshin reassured himself that he had a good start, so he couldn't save his reputation for the sake of spending the night with her. Lin Jinshin looked at the well, remembering that some A-type elixirs were mined from this ancient well, and there was a formation at the bottom. Lin Jinshin thought that his level was too weak, but he decided that he could not wait any longer and rushed into the well to find an antidote. Lin Jinshin jumped inside and lit the torch. Lin Jinshin looked around and realized that these bones were the remains of the villagers, and it looked quite creepy. Due to the severe illness, Lin Jinshin began to lose health, so he decided to find the elixir as quickly as possible. After staying here for a few more minutes, Lin Jinshin finally discovered the elixir in one of the bottles. After taking this elixir, Lin Jinshin prepared to get out of here. And at the very end, Lin Jinshin was attacked by yin energy, losing almost all of his health. However, he still managed to get out of the well. Lin Jinshin quickly ran up to Nan, ignoring the notification that energy was entering his body, causing a critical amount of health to cause him to lose consciousness. Lin Jinshin didn't pay attention to this and opened the elixir and gave it to Nan to drink, after which he vomited blood, and he received a message that he was on the verge of death, having passed out and fallen into the girl's chest. She immediately started wondering what had happened to her. My first thoughts weren't the best. She started to get hysterical and gave a slap that practically killed our hero. Lin Jinshin was still unconscious while she was crying and talking about how she hated this guy. The favor was 0 from this point on. But when the girl calmed down a little, she saw the elixir of restoration in front of her. She immediately remembered everything that happened. Her hands began to tremble. The girl realized that she had misunderstood everything. And Lin Jinshin went down into the cursed well in order to save her. After examining his body, she saw that Lin Jinshin had suffered serious injuries. Because of this, the girl started crying again. She began to apologize and say that she had misunderstood everything. But having gathered her strength, the girl took him on her shoulders and decided that she needed to quickly return to the sect, because they could help her there. The journey took some time, but the girl finally got there. The other players didn't understand why the NPC was carrying some guy, and asked if this was the same student that the master had personally accepted. It seemed his name was Lin Jinshin. But what angered the most was senior disciple Chu Tianhan. Several hours later, Lin Jinshin woke up. The first thing he saw in front of him was a heavenly elder. He didn't know who he was back then, so he was surprised that he was saved by a man with such a strong aura. Lin Jinshin stood up, introduced himself as a disciple of the Blade Sect, and thanked the man for saving him. The man replied that it was all nonsense and his name was Nan Yuan. He was Nan's grandfather. Hearing this and that he was a celestial, Lin Jinshin immediately fell to his knees and began to shout that he was very grateful for this kindness and would remember it forever. The old man walked a little further and said that he didn't need Lin Jinshin to remember some kindness. Once behind, he gave one warning to stay away from his granddaughter and warned that if Lin Jinshin dared to take advantage of her, he would not let it go so easily. But while he was saying this, Nan entered the room and asked why grandfather did not keep his word, because he promised not to pressure or blabber all sorts of things. Grandpa immediately started smiling and saying that it was just a joke, and that this boy was a great guy since he saved her. But inside, Lin Jinshin clearly understood that the elder's gaze clearly meant that they wanted to kill him. Therefore, it was better to watch his language. Lin Jinshin looked at the girl and said that thanks to her care, he was fine. To which she replied that it was just great because he was struck by demonic yin and lost consciousness. So she took him to his grandfather to help heal the wounds, and a little more and the yin would have invaded deeper. And then it would have been difficult for our hero to save them. After all this, the girl blushed and said that in fact it was she who should be thanking, because if Lin Jinshin had not risked his life and jumped into the well for the antidote, she did not even know what would have happened. The girl also added that she misunderstood everything when she woke up and asked for forgiveness, saying that Lin Jinshin is a real gentleman. Inside, Lin Jinshin was praying for her to shut up, because if he continued this way, this elder would simply go crazy. Lin Jinshin looked at her and wondered why she was looking at him so strangely. After all, the favorability is only 32 now and it is not that low, but it is too early for such looks. Lin Jinshin checked the favor and saw that it was now 62, which meant love. And if everything continues like this, then their relationship can move to a new level. The old man noticed that they were looking at each other strangely and said that if Lin Jinshin had already woken up, then it was time for them to go on a man's hunt together. And when Lin Jinshin took the game, he would simply leave here. But for some reason, Nan also went on the so-called men's hunt. Lin Jinshin looked around, not expecting that the elder would have so many interesting things here. The old man noticed the strange look and asked our hero, "Is there something wrong?" adding that this place is no worse than the sect. Lin Jinshin smiled and raised his hand and gave a thumbs up, saying that this spiritual beast garden is quite good. Lin Jinshin thought that this old man was quite proud and if he liked it, he could get some goodies. Walking a little further, Lin Jinshin said that he heard that the variety of spirit beasts was extremely rich and incomparable to other similar places, to which the old man replied that the sect could only boast of quantity while he prioritized quality. Lin Jinshin looked around, saying that he didn't see any spiritual beasts from the cultivation realm in this garden. The man immediately shouted that Lin Jinshin was ignorant, and at the entrance, there was only a realm of key purification, and the deeper it was, the higher the level of the beasts. The angry man grabbed our hero by the clothes, saying that he would now show everything clearly. Inside, Lin Jinshin was happy that his plan had worked, and now he could see this old man's trump cards. Going further, the elder said that he has absolutely everything, from the stage of purification to golden elixirs and above, but he needs to use his strength wisely. Any one of these beasts could crush someone like Lin Jinshin tomorrow. Nan quietly whispered that the strongest beast here was at the spiritual stage, and most likely he was bragging only because he was afraid that Lin Jinshin would laugh at him. The man was already tired and told Lin Jinshin to quickly choose a beast and get out of here. His granddaughter said that grandfather should not be so greedy. All of Lin Jinshin is very strong and should obtain a beast with at least the foundation building stage. With these words, the girl hugged our hero, saying that he was not a stranger to them. After that, she pointed to one of the pets, saying that this beast has an initial level of development of the mane, so it can be used both as a pet and a steed. And next to him is a moon monkey in the foundation building stage who has extraordinary speed and attack power. Lin Jinshin leaned over and stroked the beast, but then took a closer look and asked, could it be that this is an iron-eating beast? In the ancient legends, this beast that eats iron was Chi Yu's steed. It is quite rare in this game. Its combat power is simply invincible. Lin Jinshin picked up the beast in his arms and said that he had chosen it. But the elder immediately took the beast and said that he didn't have many of those left. And this one is still just a baby. He still has a lot of growing to do. As soon as he said this, his granddaughter took the beast from him, saying that this spiritual beast was just perfect for our hero. After this, she ran up to our hero and gave him the beast, saying that now it belongs to him, and if she drips a drop of blood on it, it will recognize our hero as the owner. The elder wanted to take the beast, but his granddaughter blocked his path, saying that he had taught her kindness and generosity since childhood, so he could not take back what she had already given. Lin Jinshin bit his finger and dropped a drop of blood onto the beast's forehead. The granddaughter proudly declared that Lin Jinshin had already tamed him, so there was no turning back. And Lin Jinshin began spiritual fusion. Once in the spiritual world, he saw in front of him a projection of this beast, who was indignant because the boy with the realm of ki purification wanted such a beast to serve him. Lin Jinshin smiled and said that if the Iron Eater acknowledged him as his master, then Lin Jinshin would take him everywhere with him. And Lin Jinshin would also constantly treat him with all sorts of things to share with me from different parts of the world. Lin Jinshin thought inside that he already had some understanding of the spirit beasts from his past life, and they were naturally very greedy and could not resist delicious food. The Iron Eater bit off a piece of iron and asked, "Does Lin Jinshin really think that there is food he hasn't eaten yet?" Lin Jinshin said with a smile that in one city there is a secret kingdom. Inside there is a bamboo forest, and the bamboo there is very sweet and delicious. Lin Jinshin continued to talk about how on the Immortal Island, to the east, there is a fairy tale circle called Understanding the Secrets of Nature. Eating a piece you can even extend your life on the table. After hearing all this, Forbidden Door shouted, asking to stop talking about food because he was incredibly hungry. After which he asked if he could eat everything that Lin Jinshin mentioned if he followed him. Lin Jinshin smiled and said that he kept his word. The beast also agreed closed and called our hero the Master. After which, Lin Jinshin received a notification that the taming was successful. Lin Jinshin said that he would definitely take care of him. After all this, Lin Jinshin received a notification that in 10 minutes, there would be the first major update of the game 8 Wastelands. All players would be disconnected. The update would take 24 hours. Lin Jinshin thought that in his previous life, there was also a major update. But it was a month after the start of beta testing. So why did it happen so early this time? Lin Jinshin looked at Nan and thanked her for this day, said that he needed to return to practice and they would meet in a couple of days. Lin Jinshin decided that there was no time to waste before switching off, so he needed to return back to the sect. 10 minutes later, Lin Jinshin returned to the real world. There he received a notification from Gu. She said that her sister's birthday was in a few days and offered to join. Gu, this is our hero's cousin. She is several years older than him. However, despite the fact that she is a cousin, the relationship between their families is so-so, and they are cousins only in name. As a child, she was often bullied because she wore braces, and Lin Jinshin always came to the rescue. But in the end, he was always killed beyond recognition. However, this brought them very close. Now that they had grown up, they had moved to different cities. However, she still called from time to time, and after his parents died, she brightened his life in the dark days. Lin Jinshin thought for a long time that she treated him like that, simply because she thought he was small. However, then he read her diary, and then he found out how she really felt about him. And in his previous life, Lin Jinshin was in love with Ji and ignored Gu. And when he met her again, after many years, she was already married. Moreover, soon after her marriage, she committed suicide due to depression, and Lin Jinshin decided to go to Beijing to see her. Lin Jinshin thought that he now realized that she had become distant from him after this birthday. Therefore, this time he decided not to miss this holiday and not to make mistakes like in his past life. By the way, she works as a gynecologist. As soon as Lin Jinshin entered the hospital, he saw in front of him several doctors who were carrying a patient, and there was also a woman nearby who called him her father. She begged him to wake up. Lin Jinshin knew that this was the chairman of the board of directors of the shipping corporation, named Yang Zhou. Lin Jinshin was delighted because he could finally use his knowledge. After hitting him on the chest, the girl's father came to his senses. Otherwise, he wouldn't have lasted more than an hour. The nurses looked at our hero and asked how he did it. However, the head doctor quickly carried the patient away, saying that while he was conscious they had a better chance of saving him and needed to quickly send this man to the operating room. Jan approached our hero and said that he had just saved her father, so she was ready to pay any price. Lin Jinshin knew that only the elixir from the game could cure this disease and said that it simply helped open his chakras, and this only slowed down the approaching death. And now his condition depends on the operation. However, the operation is not simple, and her father is terminally ill, and if he is lucky, he will only be able to live half an hour longer. Hearing these words, the girl noticeably became sad. She asked if she could lean on our hero's shoulder. Lin Jinshin slowly hugged and thought that the old man was not born at the same time as his parents, but he would be able to save other people when he became a god in the game. After a few minutes, the girl walked away and apologized for the fact that now his clothes were wet. Lin Jinshin replied that it was just a trifle, and said that if everything was okay with her, then he had a hard time going. Finally, he asked to spend more time with his father so that there would be no regrets. After saying goodbye, the girl asked him to stop for a second and handed him a card, saying that there was some money on it, and it was not password protected, and there was also her business card. So if any difficulties arose in the future, Lin Jinshin could call at any time and she would do everything possible to help him. Lin Jinshin thought that she was obviously rich and said that if something happened, he would definitely turn to her. Smiling, the girl said that they would see each other again and called our hero a little miracle doctor. Lin Jinshin thought that it was somehow strange because he didn't look small at all. Lin Jinshin walked a little further and finally found his sister. The girl immediately recognized who had come to see her and smiled. Lin Jinshin hugged him tightly, saying that he missed him very much. The girl was clearly shocked by this. Word for word, she brought him into her house. Lin Jinshin walked inside and she advised him to go take a shower while she cooked something delicious. Lin Jinshin looked around and noticed that the house was too poor. In his previous life, he didn't know how poorly she lived, even though she transferred money to him from time to time. While he was thinking about this, he looked at his sister. The girl noticed this look and asked why he was looking at her like that. Lin Jinshin replied that he was just thinking, and she said that if he didn't have a change of clothes, he could take some from the closet. When did she reveal to the hero where there were so many men's clothes? The sister replied with a smile that she bought it when she went to the store and she got bored. And then she thought that Lin Jinshin would look good in it. Lin Jinshin cried because he had such a good sister. After that, he took a shower. And when he came out, the girl had already finished cooking. Lin Jinshin looked at the table and noticed that there were only his favorite dishes on it. After all this, the girl took out her phone and asked how his studies were going, because they were expensive and he clearly didn't have enough money. The girl added that his salary would arrive in a couple of days and she would transfer some of the money to him. Lin Jinshin asked her to stop and said that he had enough for everything. She immediately began to say that a student cannot have money, and he was deceiving her. After that, Lin Jinshin transferred 100,000 yen to her account. The girl was surprised and asked where our hero got so much money from. Is he really doing something illegal? Lin Jinshin began to eat the food and said that he earned all of this in that very game. The sister replied that she had heard that some people were making money there, but she didn't expect it to be true. Lin Jinshin continued to eat and said that from now on, she would not have to work because she had helped him a lot before, and now it was his turn. Sister immediately replied that she did not need help because it was his honestly earned money and she was going to return it back. Lin Jinshin immediately stood up and asked why she treated him like a stranger. The girl thought for a moment and agreed to accept the money, and then they all sat down at the table, and Lin Jinshin asked her not to make up anything like that again. After a good dinner, the sister opened it to her room behind her, saying that Lin Jinshin can sleep here. Lin Jinshin looked around Hey and said that he saw that there was only one bed in the house, and in that case, they could sleep together at the same time. Inside, Lin Jinshin was thinking that in his past life, he had never behaved so openly with her. Hearing this, the girl smiled and said that this was some kind of nonsense. Lin Jinshin would sleep on her bed, and she would huddle on the sofa. Lin Jinshin wanted to say that it would be better for him to sleep on the couch. However, she immediately interrupted him, because with his height, he would not be able to fall asleep on the couch. Night fell, but Lin Jinshin could not fall asleep, and the blanket and pillow smelled like sister. Now Lin Jinshin slowly got up from his bed and walked into the living room, saying that he had something he wanted to tell you. The girl asked why he was still awake, but Lin Jinshin ignored the question and sat down next to her, then quietly asked if she wanted to quit. The girl immediately asked why she suddenly had to quit, and also added that if Lin Jinshin wanted to say that he would support her, then she did not agree. Lin Jinshin looked at her and said that, in his opinion, she should change her job. After all, she works in the capital and it is too far from him, which is why Lin Jinshin is bored. And if something happens, he also won't be able to come quickly. The sister could not understand what was going on in our hero's head and why he was saying such ambiguous things. After that, Lin Jinshin moved towards his sister and took her hand, asking if she wanted to join him in the 8 Wastelands. The whole next day, the sister was on pins and needles. She did not understand why Lin Jinshin suddenly wanted her to quit, but she thought that perhaps it really was for the best. At the end of the working day, the entire team congratulated her on her birthday. The head doctor also added that he had booked a separate room in the most luxurious restaurant and were ready to pay for everything. The girl accepted the gift, which wasn't worth it because it was her birthday, and she had to pay for everything herself. The doctor came closer to her and said that she already knew very well how he felt about her. Inside, the doctor was thinking that if he lured her and the rest of his colleagues to the most luxurious place for a 100,000 yuan dinner, then it would be just a great opportunity for a crisis with her, and then there would be a chance to act. While he was thinking about this, Lin Jinshin appeared, saying that he didn't expect that she was so loved by the team. He twirled the keys to his brand new Ferrari on his finger. The doctor couldn't believe his eyes, that's all. Rumor has it that this guy is supposed to be poor, so where did he get his sports car from? Lin Jinshin walked up to the doctor and greeted him, instantly realizing that the doctor was up to something dirty. After that, they all went outside and the sisters' colleagues were surprised when they saw our hero's car. Meanwhile, the doctor was thinking that Lin Jinshin was showing off too much and pretending to be successful. Does this mean that he is actually a poor man? In that case, where did he get the money for such a car? The man approached our hero with a smile and said that there were only 2 seats in this car, and there were a lot of them here and they would not all fit. Therefore, it would be better for Gu to go with him, and the rest would get there by taxi. The doctor also added that he would pay for everything. Lin Jinshin snapped his fingers and said that there was no need to worry about it, since he had already thought of everything. A few minutes later, 2 luxury buses arrived. The passengers went inside, and the sister approached our hero and asked, "Did he really buy this car?" Lin Jinshin replied that yes, it was a birthday present. The girl got into the car and said that she knew that he was earning quite well now, but he couldn't spend it like that. Lin Jinshin said with a smile that she could quickly quit her job, and then he would leave all his money with her for safekeeping, because that way he wouldn't be able to spend it left and right. When they got to the restaurant, Lin Jinshin said that the doctor was clearly crazy, because this was the most luxurious restaurant in the capital. Smiling, the doctor said that he did not mind spending money on such a beauty. He was happy inside because he thought that Lin Jinshin was a country bumpkin who was in such a place for the first time. Unexpectedly, Lin Jinshin said that he heard that the top floor overlooked most of the capital, and that it was simply amazing in the evening, after which he asked, was this the hall that the doctor had ordered? The man's gaze immediately changed because initially he thought to book a room on the 2nd floor because the higher the floor, the more expensive, but he swallowed it and said that of course he booked the top one. With an angry face, the man pressed the button for the top floor and thought that in order to get this woman he would have to fork out money because sooner or later it would pay off anyway. An hour later they were all already having lunch, and the girl was talking about how these really were the most luxurious restaurants and everything here was incredibly delicious. Our hero's sister now thought about what she owed the doctor, but decided that she would find a way to return the money from the account after some time. Lin Jinshin sat with the doctor and said that his sister often talks about him, and says that he is humble, polite, and fair to others and always tries to help. The doctor replied that colleagues should help each other and immediately added that he heard from Gu that Lin Jinshin was from a poor family and had little savings. So how did he get such an expensive car? Lin Jinshin realized that the doctor wanted to find out more from him and exhaled, saying that this was a gift for his sister since today was her birthday. He just wanted to express his support. The doctor said with a smile that now everything was clear to him, because young people often do not want to fall flat on their faces. And inside he was happy because it turned out that Lin Jinshin just wanted to make an impression. And, well, the doctor was already thinking about the fact that he had some kind of incomprehensible income. In his joy, he ordered more wine, and a pretty waitress came to their table. She carefully poured the wine into the glass and said that it was the best wine from the restaurant game. Lin Jinshin took the glass while the doctor was talking about how he actually wasn't going to order today. But it was Gu's birthday, so he couldn't be modest. Lin Jinshin sniffed the wine and noticed a strange smell. He immediately realized that something was wrong. It smelled like a drug for catching wild animals. Lin Jinshin put down his glass of wine, saying that he had only borrowed the car for half a day, so it was time for him to return it, or else he would have to pay a fine. Lin Jinshin said goodbye and said that he wanted the doctor to make sure his sister got home. The doctor smiled and said that Lin Jinshin didn't have to worry because Gu was under his supervision. Lin Jinshin thought with a smile that the fox had finally shown its tail. But this guy couldn't be exposed now, and he would pay for his sins later. A few minutes later, after everyone had taken a sip of this wine, they passed out. The doctor was incredibly happy. He had finally waited for this day. Taking the girl in his arms, he looked at her sweet face. The girl asked what the doctor was doing. The doctor replied that he was planning to do something fun, and that it was time for them to go to their room. The man took out his phone and immediately started taking pictures of her naked body, saying that he had spent a lot of money to celebrate her birthday, so she should pay him. And then he will force her to marry, under the pretext of blackmail. The girl, with tears in her eyes, begged to let her go. And unexpectedly for everyone, Lin Jinshin appeared. The doctor immediately looked at him and wondered why this idiot came back. And Lin Jinshin reached him in one leap, and he received a heavy blow right in the face. The waiters immediately came running to the sounds of noise and asked what was going on here. Lin Jinshin pointed his finger at the doctor and said that he suspected that this man had put some substance in the wine, so they had to collect evidence. Lin Jinshin leaned over the doctor and said that he had a recording of what the man did to his sister, after which Lin Jinshin asked whether the doctor himself would go to confess to the police or take him there. The doctor began to apologize on his knees and say that he would go himself. Lin Jinshin ordered that this be carried out immediately. After all this, Lin Jinshin took his sister in his arms. She said thank you with tears in her eyes. Lin Jinshin replied with a smile that actually he should be the one thanking her because she had always taken care of him, and now that he had grown up, it was just time to repay. After a hard day, Lin Jinshin finally arrived in his hometown and home. He thought that it was not easy to part. However, the sister promised that as soon as she finished work, she would definitely visit her brother. Lin Jinshin threw down his briefcase, thinking that he certainly didn't want to leave Gu. However, the upgrade had already finished. Therefore, he needed to return quickly because he couldn't let others catch up with him. With these thoughts, Lin Jinshin returned to the game where his character was meditating. He immediately received a notification that Lin Jinshin was currently in the late stage of refining and all of his main stats had increased by 10 points. Lin Jinshin was happy about this news because the game had made great progress during the update period, after which he opened his storage. After all, Lin Jinshin still hadn't looked at the things that dropped from taming the baby. There were 3 spiritual items. One of them was the Cherry Blossom Probe, which would immediately connect to a teammate within a 20 radius, restoring 100 health points per second for 20 seconds. There was also a spiritual technique called Bloodbat Squeak, which reduces the effectiveness of enemies within 300 meter and reduces their accuracy by 30%. However, there are restrictions. This item is only for main realm cultivation players. Well, in the end, there were the bones of the buried sand. Originally, these were the ordinary bones of a demonic beast that was buried under the sand and absorbed the energy of the earth. After several hundred years, the bones changed, became hard as iron. The effect is that when a cultivator in the realm of key purification breaks through to the realm of formation, then this item can be used to greatly enhance the characteristics of the cultivator. Lin Jinshin thought that these were quite good things, but if he wanted to further improve his cultivation, he could only choose to build the foundation of the heavenly path. But the conditions for this path are very harsh and require both materials and treasures. Even though Lin Jinshin hadn't yet reached the stage of building the main force, it was still time to gather resources. Lin Jinshin woke up his beast and said that they had work to do. The little animal turned around and said that he didn't have the strength to walk because he wanted to eat. Lin Jinshin replied that the beast had eaten just recently, to which the beast replied that Lin Jinshin had actually made a promise to it. Lin Jinshin smiled and said that it was nonsense. The irritated little beast stood up and Lin Jinshin received a notification that the pet's loyalty had decreased by 10 points. The current loyalty was 90. As soon as Lin Jinshin saw this, he was as if struck by lightning. He grabbed his head because he almost forgot that pets have a school of loyalty, and if it falls below 70, the pet will not obey the owner's orders, and if below 50, it may even rebel against the owner. Lin Jinshin said that it was just a joke and he only woke up his beast to feed it. After the little animal had eaten its fill, they set off on their journey. The most important update to the game this time is the dungeon, but so far only 3 of them have been updated. 2 of them are for the team and 1 is for single player. These 3 dungeons are similar to the sect divided into 5 difficulty levels: easy, normal hard, and extremely hard and hellish. But first, you will need to clear out the nightmare because there will clearly be the necessary materials there to break through to the Kingdom of Foundation. Moreover, this dungeon is in demand. As soon as Lin Jinshin came down, he saw several Blade Sect Palace disciples in front of him. At the late stage of Foundation formation, the disciples asked, "Where is Lin Jinshin going?" I looked at them and asked, "Do they really have any problems?" The unknown man stated that his name was Wang Shun Huang and that he had come here to challenge our hero. Lin Jinshin looked at all this, and then the disciple began to explain that in the Blade Sect, there is a rule that if the cultivation level of the one who issued the challenge does not exceed the level of the opponent by more than 1 full level, then he can issue a challenge. Students can challenge each other to a duel. If the one being challenged is not injured, on a mission or in seclusion, he must accept the challenge. If the challenger's cultivation level exceeds that of the opponent by an entire level, then he must accept the challenge, unless he has a special reason to refuse. All this contributes to the continuous self-improvement of the disciples and the fact that the Blade Sect will soon become the best in the world. Lin Jinshin smiled and said that he didn't like to do anything without any benefit. So if he was going to speak, he wanted to receive a tangible reward. Our hero's opponent stated that they could bet on sect contribution points, and this is a common practice in duels. Lin Jinshin looked at how many points he had, and the others also noticed that he had 0. And if he lost, he would have a negative balance. Lin Jinshin knows very well that if his balance is negative, he will simply be expelled from the sect. Suddenly, as if from nowhere, Nan appeared. She shouted that she had more than 60,000 contribution points, and this was more than enough. Lin Jinshin smiled and once again became convinced that living at the expense of others is the truest path. The opponent said he was betting 1,500 points, and after a few hours, Lin Jinshin and his opponent were already on the duel platform of the Blade Sect, where the gray-haired man was currently fighting. His name was Chen, and everyone said that he was simply incredible. He had already won 8 times in a row, and he was still only at the late stage of chi refining. Many thought that he was the best sect master. Elder Nangong watched these fights and suddenly appeared and said that he saw that this guy had outstanding talent and skill in the art of the blade, so he wanted to take him as a personal disciple. Chen immediately agreed and said that it would be a great part for him. At this point, Nan appeared and called her father. Chen was completely delighted by her beauty. He asked why she came here. The girl smiled and said that it was to support her younger brother. The girl's father laughed and asked how she knew that he had just accepted this young master as an apprentice. The girl replied with a smile that her father had misunderstood her and that she was talking about someone else, after which she pointed her finger at our hero. As soon as Lin Jinshin appeared, he immediately noticed an unfriendly look from Father Nan. At this time, Father was thinking that he didn't know what kind of tricks Lin Jinshin had used, but he had only managed to win Nan's heart in just a few days, and it couldn't be left that way. And there was also a good opportunity for Lin Jinshin to fight with the elder's new disciple. Chen Oggs was inflamed and said that he had heard a lot about our hero and would like to learn his techniques in combat. Lin Jinshin apologized and said that he was busy today, and the hero knew very well that this guy would be the best blade master. Lin Jinshin pointed to his opponent behind him, saying that he had already accepted this guy's challenge. Chen couldn't believe it. He asked if Lin Jinshin was really going to fight someone at a late stage of cultivation, and Father Nan told our hero that if the opponent's cultivation level was higher, then Lin Jinshin could refuse. Because of all this, our hero's opponent became tense. Because the sect does have rules, one of them is that low-level disciples can refuse challenges from disciples with a higher cultivation level, and this man specifically did not tell our hero this in order to prevent refusal. But now that Lin Jinshin knows about this, the duel may not take place. Lin Jinshin replied that he knew this very well. However, he added that the elder brother he was going to fight now liked to give everyone contribution points, so Lin Jinshin decided to reluctantly agree. Father Nan couldn't believe that at such a young age, Lin Jinshin was already so arrogant. A few minutes later, the duel began, Lin Jinshin said, allowing Wang to start the duel. Van swung his weapon, saying that today he would teach our hero's arrogance a lesson. However, a moment later, Lin Jinshin was already in front of him, his eyes furious as he launched his Phoenix Strike. With a single blow, Lin Jinshin knocked off 1,600 HP from his opponent, after which he jumped to the opposite part of the arena. Wang tried to counter with something, but Lin Jinshin easily pushed him away. The other disciples couldn't believe that Lin Jinshin had won so easily. Nan immediately looked at her father and said that Lin Jinshin was quite strong. Nangong, after a few seconds, replied that this guy was clearly beyond expectations. However, inside he was thinking that his stupid daughter had completely lost her head because of him. The entire fight was captured on the streamer's broadcast. In the end, she added that Lin Jinshin was the most beautiful deity in all 8 wastelands. The gray-haired swordsman, looking at this, was clearly not pleased. He walked into the arena and loudly declared that, as of today, Lin Jinshin was stronger than him. However, it wouldn't be long before it happened, and the gray swordsman will fulfill his promise and surpass our hero. Looking at Chen, Lin Jinshin thought that it was no wonder that this guy could become #1. After all, his pride and determination speak for themselves. But now that Lin Jinshin has reincarnated and chosen the path of the blade, he will never give up the title of the best cultivator of the path of the blade. Nan walked up to her younger brother, saying that Lin Jinshin had become much stronger and she expected nothing less from him. Lin Jinshin replied that it was all because she helped him. Lin Jinshin also added that one day he would protect her. She turned away with a displeased face and asked if she didn't like it when his older sister protected him, to which Lin Jinshin replied that he was simply waiting for the day when he could shelter her from the winds and rains, removing all obstacles in their path. Hearing these words, her heart began to beat faster. Lin Jinshin added that he was going to invite his older sister to another city to listen to music, watch a performance, admire the flowers and moonlight. Lin Jinshin was thinking inside that once her favorability level exceeded 70, then physical contact could be made, and he had to strike while the iron was hot. The girl blushed and said that she would be free. However, her father would soon return and perhaps she would not be able to leave. Lin Jinshin said with a smile that she could tell her father that she was just going on a mission. The girl agreed and said that she would find him herself. Meanwhile, Lin Jinshin was happy that he was going on a date with his older sister. When they said goodbye, Lin Jinshin was about to leave this place. However, he unexpectedly met Wanwan. She greeted our hero and said that he was very strong and even the senior disciples could not defeat him. Lin Jinshin said that there was nothing special about it and asked if she needed anything. The girl said with a smile that the Moonshadow Guild also wanted to ask him to help clear the secret location of the Valley of the Corpse King on hard mode. As soon as Lin Jinshin heard this, he immediately replied that he would be busy. The girls couldn't understand the reasons and said that they could even pay. But Lin Jinshin replied that the Valley of the Corpse King was a secret location for groups of over 100 people, and it wasn't a matter of individual skills but of the average level of the team. Because in order to successfully clear the location, the team members had to be at least of the average level of Kie cultivation. The girl immediately gave up on going into this dungeon and asked, "What about the Night Ghost Gorge?" Lin Jinshin replied that it was possible. However, it would not be that easy. The girl immediately became happy and said that Lin Jinshin could name his conditions. Lin Jinshin smiled and asked, "Will you participate, Guildmaster?" Wanwan turned away and warned that Lin Jinshin should not think anything like that about their leader, because if her father found out about this, he would be in trouble. Lin Jinshin asked with a smile what could possibly happen. Was his father just beating him to death because of something? However, after a while he added that he had no thoughts about their heads, and he just wanted to get money from her. While they were talking about this, an old friend approached our hero and said that he would give 3 million for help in the dungeon. Lin Jinshin did not recognize who was standing in front of him, and the man stated that Lin Jinshin had once sold him an onion. Lin Jinshin immediately hugged the pink-haired girl and said that he had already agreed to help her. These words made the man angry because she, the hero, had already fooled him twice. Lin Jinshin and his girlfriend set off on their journey, and along the way, Lin Jinshin thanked her for covering for him, and he also added that if there was an opportunity in the future, he would definitely repay her. After some time, they finally reached their destination. The head of the guild first greeted our hero, saying that she was very glad that he had finally arrived. She also thanked him for joining them in completing the dungeon, and she also said that if he had any conditions, he should say so in advance. Lin Jinshin raised his finger and said that he had 3 conditions. First, he would be the one in charge. Once they entered the dungeon, they would all have to follow his instructions. Second, if the equipment obtained from the dungeon was for blade cultivation, it would belong to him. Well, finally, Lin Jinshin quietly said that in the end, he would like to borrow some spiritual stones from her. The girl looked at him and said that spiritual stones were very important to their guild. The ratio of spiritual stones to cash had increased to 1 to 180. Lin Jinshin replied that he was not going to lend it to her just like that, and that he would return 130% of the amount she gave in full within 5 days. The girl thought for a moment and said that in that case she was ready to lend 50,000 spiritual stones. Lin Jinshin received them immediately and said that he would return them within 5 days. When they entered the dungeon, Lin Jinshin said that in fact, the Ghost Ridge Night Dungeon was not that difficult for me after all. The most important part was careful movement and wheel tactics. As long as they adhered to these 2 things, clearing the dungeon would not be a problem. He also asked them to follow him and not lag behind, because he would do everything possible to ensure that they passed as quickly as possible. Lin Jinshin was very familiar with this dungeon, but he had to pretend that he didn't know anything again. And finally, they met their first opponent. But it turned out it was a friendly NPC. He said that the Ghost Ridge is too dangerous and no one can survive here except him, the guard of the cemetery. However, Lin Jinshin walked past this guy and said that there was no need to listen to him. As soon as the cemetery guard saw how brave Lin Jinshin was, he stopped him and asked if Lin Jinshin could do him a favor. Lin Jinshin turned around with a smile, because in his previous life, he talked to this guy for half a day, and only then found out that the longer he ignored him, the faster he would offer a task. The man said that 20 years ago his wife was killed here, and he became a guard, hoping to find her things. But unfortunately, he is not strong enough to climb the mountain, so if Lin Jinshin finds a white handkerchief, he must bring it to the side. In exchange, he will give 2 pieces of mysterious equipment. Lin Jinshin said with a smile that he accepted the task. After that, they said goodbye, and the man said that he would wait for good news at the foot of the mountain. After climbing the mountain, Lin Jinshin and his squad were caught in a small ambush. However, they killed everyone without any problems. The girls noticed how much falls when Lin Jinshin kills someone, and they asked what his luck level was. Lin Jinshin smiled and said that it was a secret. But because he was bragging, he didn't notice how a huge monster sneaked up on him. Lin Jinshin immediately launched his attack, but it turned out to be just fog, and on the tip of the blade remained the white handkerchief of the cemetery caretaker's wife. The girls were delighted, because now even if they don't return now, they will still receive 2 items of mysterious equipment. Lin Jinshin said that they should go through it to the end, and they went on. They walked forward until they came across a hanged woman. Lin Jinshin immediately rushed forward to kill her. However, the system said that he missed. A moment later, the woman was on his shoulders, smiling as she said that Lin Jinshin was quite handsome and suggested that he become a pair of ghostly spouses with her daughter.